And we're live.
Welcome, everybody. Wild week. Man, thank you all for joining us. Thursday night, it is September the 28th, the end of September, the beginning of October, and it's been a whole lot of early spookiness going on out here in the community and in the wider industry news. Wow. Mav, by the way, man, I'm looking to get some food. Can you hit me up with $20? Is that possible?
Yeah. I'll
okay, cool.
I'll Venmo it to you, bro.
Awesome. I sent that same DM to everybody, just so you know. Anyways, that's some community inside stuff going on. If you guys have all been paying attention, scammers everywhere, everybody. But yes, this is PM of the PM. This is Pong and Mav in the PM. Welcome to another episode. We do have a lot to talk about. Obviously, the amazing thumbnail by the one and only Miss Caitlin shows you kind of what we're going to talk about, which I'm sure you all knew. Obviously, Jim's last dance, stepping away, retirement. We got other things though too, a lot, but I think we're gonna have an interesting conversation. I listened to some of your Mavcasts last night today. I didn't get through all of it, but I did listen to some of it, so I kind of know where you're coming from. But I think we're gonna have some interesting conversations about this. Anyways, everybody, I gotta introduce the co-host, the man on a mission to bring Fun Speculation Network worldwide, 3 billion plus people at some point, so we can all quit our jobs here at the Fun Speculation family and just sit back and talk games and play games all day long. That's the ultimate retirement plan. Shout out to Jim Ryan, who's probably not going to do that because he doesn't play games. But anyways, the one, the only, the Fun Speculation, aka Mav. What is going on, brother? How's your week been, man? I know you've been busy.
Oh man, it's been pretty crazy busy. Been playing some more Starfield and video games. That's been it, right? I don't know, still can't shake that damn game, bro. I don't know what it is. I did get Cyberpunk, and I had to see it on my PC after the update and stuff, so I got it on PC, and it's glorious. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that when I can pull myself away from Starfield. So it's like Starfield's that game that it's just like I don't want to finish. You know what I mean? I just lost in it. So I've been enjoying the hell out of that game. And I recommend that everybody, even if you were, on the fence on it, or you saw some of the nonsense going on out there, with some of the reviews and some of the clickbait articles and all that kind of stuff, or you looked at it as like, hey, I'm just gonna quick play through the story, and then kind of do that whole thing, give it a chance to get lost in the world and kind of randomly explore and do things, and you might be surprised. But if not, hey, that's fine too. Starfield is personally, no lie, like my favorite game of all time right now. Like like I said before, looking back on things, it could. I could change nostalgia, or like a different perspective after time away could give me another feeling about this. But if I was to answer right now, for sure, it's surpassed games like Halo 2 and all that kind of stuff, right? Like as my GOAT. Created something special that I'm gonna have a hard time not thinking about for years and years and years to come, man. I just freaking love that game. I get it. I haven't known a game that's got me this triggered when I hear negative comments about it, like for random reasons. It's like, God, like you don't know what you're doing, or like you don't know what you're saying, or, it's like, what are you thinking? They're playing it wrong. Like all these things, all these thoughts. But it is what everybody's gonna have their own thoughts and opinions and feelings on stuff. I sometimes feel like people have lost their damn minds, right? It is what it is though, and we got so many great games coming up, dude. I have not bought Mortal Kombat yet.
Okay.
So weird. The only thing I've been able to do besides play Starfield, like entertainment wise, is watch the Cowboys on Sunday.
Yep.
Right. I've been able to pull myself away and watch some movies and some TV shows occasionally and stuff. But that's it. That's it. It's just Starfield, man. Starfield.
Yeah. That's same.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you guys know you got the warning. I didn't even know I was going to post this much about Starfield. I posted a lot about Cyberpunk back in the day when that first dropped, and I was in love with Cyberpunk from the get-go. But I can't stop. I'm 200 hours plus. I haven't touched the main line. I've got 2 missions done of the Crimson Fleet, and that's it. I haven't even touched Outposts yet.
Yeah.
I know, Mav, you've been working on Outposts.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Outposts are insane. I
know that Nero guy on Twitter, man. That Nero guy who has built that massive factory plant with over 100 different directives for his, plant to run itself. Like
he inspired me to kind of like
dive into it
a little bit because I'm usually not one for like Fallout. I hated that shit, honestly. Like it's like this ain't for me. When it comes to the extra base building things that are kind of optional and stuff, I usually kind of don't dive in too much. But there's something about Starfields that is like simple, but also rewarding and beneficial in a lot of ways. So and it was time to get my Aurora Empire going. So I got it officially set up. We're good to go. Manufacturing is happening, and we're developing Aurora on a secluded planet. It's nice.
That's it's awesome, bro. I mean, again, I like you when you started talking about it and you posted those pictures and stuff. I kind of got an itch, but this is the best part about Starfield is any itch I get is replaced by 100 others when I'm playing. And this is what I go through on a nightly basis now. And I put out a post today that because I love both the space exploration and the planet side exploration, and I know not everybody likes both, but because I do, there is so much variance in my day-to-day playing Starfield. That is one of the best parts. It's one of the most addicting parts. Again, I put out a post earlier this week with me absolutely, or my character Celine Karen putting out a warning to the settled systems that it was on, because I've gone full-fledged. I've got $1.5 million. I'm carrying over $1.5 million bounty everywhere now. So I get attacked constantly. Like when I'm flying, it's freaking awesome. So I was having space battles nonstop. And then I had this little side mission. I decided to do one of the little side missions that I had to go take out. Was it a Varun leader? I think it was a Varun leader. Maybe that was a couple of missions ago. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The point of fact is I landed on this planet and I found another temperate planet that is just absolutely amazing. It's different from every other planet I've landed on. And I've probably landed and explored to some varying degree, probably 30 to 40 planets at this point.
Yeah.
This one is completely different than everything else I've seen. It even had a new procedurally generated base, which I had not seen yet. And again, I know that's one of the small issues that I do have. I wish they had more variables in their procedurally generated content when it comes to the buildings. But again, it doesn't bother me. I look at them as like dungeons, rerunning dungeons in Diablo over and over and over again. Like that's the same thing to me. But I found a new one that I had never seen before, cleared that out. And then the wildlife on this place is just phenomenal. I'm having such a great time exploring. This one's got like 11, I think it's got 11 different animals to find on this one.
11?
Which is
wow.
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah. So I'm working through that planet. So I spent the past 2 nights. I went from just terrorizing the settled systems in space, raiding everybody, getting into massive battles with 30 plus ships against me, to exploring this planet and just having an absolute peaceful blast, kind of just totally different experience. Right. But enjoying the game the same. And like you, Mav, I already said it last week or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, whenever I finally stated it. But yeah, this is my favorite game all time. This is hands down the game that is made for me. Again, not perfect. Definitely
no game is, right?
No game is, and I definitely could list you guys, and I have on other podcasts, the different things that I would like to see in this game. But we also had an interview this week with Todd, again, with Ted Price from Insomniac, right, Mav? And I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that interview. I recommend everybody. Mr. Price from Insomniac, he has his own show that he does where he deep dives with different developers and stuff. And kind of does that whole, two industry guys talking about the industry. And he had Todd on this week, and Todd basically said they built this game with all the knowledge that they had. Obviously, we knew this from Skyrim, from Oblivion, from Fallouts, etc., and how long people play those games. This is just the foundation, is what Todd was saying in this interview, Mav. They set this game up to be a games as a service type game where they're going to continually update it. He specifically said, we looked at this game and we wanted to make sure that we had the core, the base set, and then we're going to start working on the lists of things that our community wants, that we want to add to the game. And we know this game is going to be different a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So this is just a start for Starfield. And again, the official modding is not even out yet, and the mods are already going crazy. Hands down, this game was made for me. Pure and simple. It's got everything I want in a game. It's got loot. It's got this fantastic game loop that changes depending on what you're doing, what you're deciding to play. Again, the sandbox that Bethesda has been famous for has only just gotten bigger and better than it ever has been. They pushed the bar higher. I said this. Absolutely, this can be your game of the year. Absolutely, this can be your game of the generation. There's no reason to sit here and say, because not everybody agreed when they reviewed it, that it can't be classified as those. Of course, it can be classified as those. It is for me. It can be before you. If it's not, that's cool too. I totally get it. Not everybody in the world plays every game.
Yeah.
As even the big games, like I said, Spider-Man didn't get played by everybody who owned a PlayStation, even though the PlayStation community acts like it. That's not the case. Not everybody likes Spider-Man like that. Not everybody likes Bethesda games like that. That's cool. But for me, this is the ultimate game. And that interview that he had with Ted, where he talked about the formula, we talked about this, man, of how long they've been together, that they got this, they kind of just know how to do this thing. I love to hear Todd say that we just going to make the games that we make. Don't change, Todd. Don't ever change. For the reviewers. Don't listen to that shit. No, you are a one-of-a-kind studio. There are others who are doing similar things, but you are Bethesda. You created this genre, this sandbox genre. Realistically, you made it what it is. Other people are still striving to get there. Just keep doing your thing and keep pushing your own bar a little bit higher. Don't worry about the nonsense out here, Todd. That's his personal message to Todd. I want to keep seeing these games. I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be built upon everything that you learned from Starfield and just make it bigger and better in one world in Elder Scrolls. That's cool with me. Give me the biggest and baddest high fantasy game that you ever created, and I'll be set. This game is absolutely phenomenal. It is a masterpiece to me, and I can't stop playing it. And I have no intention to stop playing it. I know there's a lot of great games, a lot of stuff I'm looking at. Go, God, I really would want to jump into that. But then I go, that means I do have to sacrifice Starfield time. And no, I don't want to do that. So I am continuing to play as I play. Special, really, really special. I didn't even think it was going to be like this, man. I really didn't.
Yeah, same. So, it's weird. I know we're both crazy excited for it, but the more time goes on, it's just like keeps exceeding my expectations. Something I realized when I was doing the Outpost stuff is because I would go around and I kind of look for temperate planets that have good resources, right? It's kind of what I do, because way I have like, okay, I know the planet's probably going to have more wildlife and plants and all those kind of things as well to harvest, right? And then I'll look for one that has like iron or aluminum or what's the other stuff that you need, right? But then, so what I ended up starting doing is I set up an outpost on one part of the planet, and then I look around and scan the rest of the planet and zoom in and stuff, look for good landing spots, and then then I'll land on another part of the planet, and then you can actually set up like cargo links to be able to resource material back to one of the two other outposts.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yep.
So then you actually have the ship at your outpost that like takes off back and forth and just delivers materials, and you can set that up. But what I realized when doing it, because I was paying attention to all the marked and unknown locations around the landing areas that I had.
Yes.
And there's so many, right? And there's a lot of stuff there. And if you just go and randomly do that stuff, and then I thought about it when I landed at the second location, I'm like, okay, well, this is a bunch of other random stuff I can go do. And then I zoomed out on the planet and really thought about it for a second. How many things are there on this one planet? Right? Like how many landing spots can I have on this one planet and find a bunch of random stuff to do and go and do dungeon, like as you say, I kind of look at them the same way, like these abandoned outposts or man,
a robot factory or pharmaceutical plant or whatever the hell,
occupied caves and all this kind of stuff. Like how much stuff is there on one planet? You could literally just go around and keep traveling and landing in the same damn planet, and you could have endless amounts of content to play just in one planet. It's insane. And you really think about that and put it into perspective about the amount of planets you have that are kind of diverse and all this kind of stuff. It's like, holy shit. Like how I don't really think people are really realizing the scope of this game, right? They see like the star map and stuff, but they're not really realizing a lot of the scope of like everything that's there. And I would like more variance in the procedural generation as well. But I also gotta give them a lot of credit because these procedurally generated locations are freaking incredible for
they're being gigantic, some of them.
For being procedural generated with like different factions operating them and like the different kinds of loot you can find, the different kinds of lore you can even find scattered about with the different like notes and stuff like that, like just random locations, right? Like that you never had a need to go to, never have to go to. You can just go do it if you find it fun. I personally find the combat and exploring fun. So when people say, well, it's not rewarding, or why do you do that? Well, because the reward for me is having fun doing it, right? That's the reward is my time feeling like I have invested it in a way that I feel like I'm having fun, right? So, and everybody's going to play it different. Like my wife, Caitlin, she's building this like insane collection in her house, right? She has like, she did the perk where you have like the it comes with the house, right? So she has that house and she goes to it and she has like displays everywhere with like helmets and weapon racks on like all the walls and stuff. She's got mannequins set up with full-on outfits everywhere. She's making fruit bowls in the freaking kitchen and like all these different things, man. It's like, and it's coming together, and you can see like she's turned this into like another version of her house flipper, but as a space pirate. It's insane. You're on mute, by the way.
Shouldn't have been, but I am now. Anyways, no, that's the thing about this game that I think a lot of people, and again, it's not for everybody, and I get that, but the fact is that people missed the point of it because it's very easy to fall into a trap all the time. And we see so many people in this community fall into the trap that everybody plays games like you. Steele and I talk about this a lot on Living Split Screen, that there's this thought process that everybody plays the same way or plays the same types of games. And if you don't, then you're not the gamer that I am. And they try all this kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people missed out when they're playing this game and they play it their way, that there was a ton of stuff. And that's part of what I talked about before it even launched, why I thought the reviews could drop a little bit lower, is because if you played a certain way, Mav, you're missing 75% of the content. I mean, or more, right? You legitimately could miss out on some of the greatest adventures that you ever had just because you thought to yourself, well, I'm not interested in landing on these planets, so I'm not going to land on these planets. You know how many times it's happened, man, where I've landed on a planet because I had no idea what that planet, even if you scan the planet first and it tells you the resources, sure, you can kind of see what it's going to be like. But until you actually land there and you come face to face with some of the creatures and you start looking around, You have no idea.
Yeah.
Quick story. I know we're on Starfield, but this is going to be an ongoing thing, I think, for both of us for a while. Quick story for everybody. So I landed on this planet that I was talking about, that I've been on for 2 nights now, surveying and doing different, things that are out there. And I started, this is totally weird. And I'm not saying that like most people are going to notice this kind of stuff. And I've got to do a little bit more research here, but I was on this planet map, and there's again a ton of different wildlife on this planet.
Yeah.
It's all land based, but there are, of course, you've got your aggressive, meat eaters. You've got your herbivores, your gentle herbivores, and that kind of stuff, like they normally do. Well, on this planet, they have 2 extremely aggressive predators. Okay, one is a beetle bug. I posted a picture of it today. I forget name of it, long something. I can't remember. Is it long? I can't remember. Anyways, this beetle bug, and they've got these lion bears. That's the actual name, lion bear. Okay, I took a picture of it. It's on there too. But they're highly aggressive, man. And the beetles are fast as fuck. Okay, like when they decide to run at you.
Yeah.
Wow. Like even, let me put it this way. Even if you go to change out a weapon and it goes into slow motion, it looks like they're almost in normal motion for a normal animal.
Right.
That's how fast these things are. So anyways, I was walking around this planet scanning, and there's these 2 different variants of peaceful grazing animals, right? One, I got pictures of the other one too. But I started noticing in the area I had landed, Mav, literally the AI for the predators was so aggressive that 9 out of 10 times I came upon one of those grazers or a group of those grazers, they were all dead, Mav.
Yeah.
Before I even got there, because the predators were so aggressive. Like that's the stuff that you find in this game. And then I put out the other story too, where I was hunting a pack of lion bears. I had 2 of them in my sights. I knew there was more because I could hear them. So I was hunting these 2 lion bears, and I was coming up on them slow. I was creeping up on them because I had my sniper out. So I was going to take them out easy. And I was pacing them just like I would if I was tracking any type of prey. And it was nighttime, and they walk through these trees. It's a tropical area. And one of the lion bears came out into an opening right as I moved out into the opening, and the moonlight was in this opening. And all of a sudden, here comes this lion bear walking out. He stops as I'm going side to side, lining up my shot, and turns and looks at me and notices me. Right. And I was like, I got chills and I got a smile on my face. I was like, this is when the AI is working. And then, Mav, as I was getting ready to take a shot at him before he charged me, the buddy that he had with him had already started to flank me, and he let out a roar, which in my headphones was directly to my left. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. Right. So I took out the guy in front of me as quick as possible. I instantly jetpacked backwards, and sure enough, the lion bear was already on top of me, trying to swipe at me as I was jetpacking away from him. So I'm swapping to a shotgun for close range, and I knew there was more. Sure enough, 2 more come running around a rock as I'm killing the second one. I was like, this game, man, just ear to ear smiles. But that's the stuff that you would miss if you're playing a certain way. Again, there's nothing wrong with you playing a certain way. You got to play your games how you want to play. And if you want to move on to Mortal Kombat, if you got to beat Starfield before you can move on to another game, and that's how you're going to play it, that's fine. But I think all the people that are still talking about Starfield, and there's a lot of us, there's still a lot of engagement going on. I'm almost at 400,000 impressions this month, Mav, which is gigantic for me. And it's based on the Starfield stuff I've been posting. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of people still enjoying this game. Most of the people that are still playing this game are the ones like you and me, that are taking their time, that are playing through it. Now, I've seen some people that have run through the game and are like NG+6 or something like crazy like that. That's fine too. Go ahead and do that. But I think most of them are like us, Matt, taking our time and really deep diving each part of this game and finding out that we just love this game day by day even more, right? And I think that that's what's happening with this game. This game is going to be a beloved Bethesda game, despite the ratings, despite the reviews. As time goes on, This will be one of those games that more and more people continuously go back to and look back on and talk about, you know what? I was harsh on it in the beginning, but now it's one of my favorite games of all time. I think we're going to see that more and more. And all of us that were there from day one that said it, we're going to be going, yeah, that's right. That's what happens. Yep. That's what happens. It's a Bethesda game. Just again, special time to be a gamer. We don't get these games very often. Even though I know I've got games I want to play, Mav, we're not getting another Bethesda game for probably 4 to 5 years in Elder Scrolls 6. There's not another game that can give me the same experience as Starfield in totality. So I don't mind if I wind up putting 500, 1,000 hours in this game. I don't mind that at all. That's not going to bother me. I'm not even going to flinch on that, because these games come along so infrequently from Todd and his team. And this one, again, reminded everybody of why they are Bethesda. And it certainly for me, on a whole new level because of the scope of this game.
Yeah.
That's the difference this time around. Yeah.
I built one more Starfield thing.
Yeah, well, go. No. We could do this all night. I don't care. Chat, I know might get bored, but I don't care. I love it.
I had edited a lot of my ships that I've had, right? But I actually finally went and took the time to build one from scratch, right? All out. Right, I have at the outpost, you can put a ship building station and landing pad there, and if you do it, it kind of puts together everything that you've come across for parts and stuff like that at the different locations. So I was able to put all the habitat modules I want. I was able to put everything that I want on there. The ship is massive. It's insanely big.
Awesome.
It's and I made it like a smuggler's large battleship kind of, because I got to have a way to transport all this Aurora that I'm going to be carrying, right? So there's these gold.
It's a cool. Can I just say, Mav, that I hadn't seen your Walter White until you posted those pictures. I don't remember you posting one before, or at least I didn't see it. When you posted those pictures, I died on the spot. I was like, yo, cause normally Mav, you're kind of quick on the character creator and that kind of stuff. And you kind of get through that. I looked at that. I was like, Mav did a phenomenal job getting Walter White like that. I was dying. And then in your post with can make 98% pure Aurora, I was absolutely dead, bro. It was perfect, man. It's so cool that you actually are doing, when you first started talking about this prior to Starfield coming out, I was like, yeah, I mean, that's going to be damn cool if you can do all that. I don't know if they're going to let you do all that. The fact that you are doing it, man, the fact that there was a specific mission to go get the Aurora recipe, and you are now living out your Walter White dreams in Starfield. Again, it just blows my mind. It's so damn cool.
It's an idea. I thought, I don't know if it's actually going to be possible.
Yes.
Also,
right.
The game actually gives you all the tools to be able to do this stuff, right? So it's like, and I know what I need to put different skill points onto. I want to put more in commerce. That way I get a better deal on the stuff, right?
I'm already full. I'm already at max on that. Yep.
I'm recruiting more people to run the outposts and all that kind of stuff. And I need to put more posts in my outpost building because I want to have some robots and stuff there manning it as well. So all these different kind of things you can do. But the ship I actually have, there's these golden smuggler cargo things that hold 180 or whatever smuggled cargo.
I'm up to 800 smuggled cargo now. I think
I got 3,700 on my ship.
Nice.
3,700 smuggled, and plus it already some of the other modules come with some stuff, so it's got over 4,300 mass carrying space for the cargo, and 3,700 of it is smuggleable.
Jesus, bro, that's crazy.
It's insane. So there's on the ship, there's all these golden modules just attached to the side of the ship everywhere. Bro. So, but I just painted the ship all black, so I named it the Golden Onyx.
Nice, I love it, bro.
Yeah,
love it.
It's gonna be my ship. That ship is it's tricked out, bro. It's got living quarters, captain quarters. It's got an infirmary. It's got a whole freaking 3x2 mess hall. It's got the science lab. It's got the computer stations, the engineering bay. It's got everything, bro. I got modules because this ship's got like actual like wings on it, right? So, but
Yes.
I got modules that give a pathway to the different wings that host more habitats as well. So then you can put like freaking windows on like skylights.
Yes.
So I got
Yep.
skylights on my wings, and I got windows
awesome.
and all this stuff everywhere. It's sick. And then I set it up on purpose to where there's an armory right when I go in and leave the ship. So like right at the exit by the landing dock, there's an armory there, so I can put all my guns and stuff. Anyway,
bro,
I had a blast making that ship, dude. It was like hours and hours, but it was fun.
That's how long I've spent this shipbuilding on mine too, and I've got to make some conversions right now because I got to change up a couple things as well. On mine, I'm almost pushing 10,000 cargo right now, and I got to change it up. But anyways, what I was gonna say was that's the role playing in RPG. That's the role playing game. That's what I'm saying, man. We and those of us that are playing the game in that manner are experiencing a totally different style of play than a lot of people who had to review this game or played it like a classic game and didn't play it like a Bethesda game with the sandbox. I think those of us that are deep in it like this, that are actually into the role-playing part of it, there is games upon games upon games within the big game, right? That's this thing. Like you're making your own kind of mission that is not there, but you're making it you, right? You're making your own as you go because you have goals that the game didn't give you that you're giving yourself to go and do, much like me while I was building up my ship, knowing that I was going to take on these bounties, that I was going to have to fight 30 plus ships when entering an orbit, that I was going to have to survive that. I made my own goal to continue to work my ship up, and I built out my tech side to make sure that I could get my ship up to date. And I knew that with all my hoarding, I was going to need cargo, so I started working on the cargo section. That's the stuff that a lot of people probably never even realized they could do for themselves, or maybe just had no interest in doing. And that's fine. Again, not everybody is interested in doing that kind of stuff, but that's the stuff that we are doing. And that's what I think sets it apart and why we could sit here and talk all night about our stories within Starfield. This is the ultimate game. I really do think it is. Spartan661 said it best too. $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Spartan. Starfield's the game of the year for me. Endless fun. Endless is absolutely a fact in this game. Like, I mean that literally. I could pop this game in 20 years from now and probably discover something I had never seen before or do something I had never done before.
Can you imagine what this game's going to look like 20 years from now?
No. We're going to have a full-on Star Wars version of this game, even if Disney doesn't want to do it, even if Lucas doesn't want to do it, even if nobody else signs on to do another Star Wars game. We are going to have a full-fledged Star Wars universe in this game within probably a matter of 2 to 3 years max. We will probably have full planets. We will have Star Destroyers. We will have TIE Fighters. We will have X-Wings. We will have everything that you could want out of a Star Wars game within this universe if you want to go down the modding road. But even if you take out the mods and just the official stuff, again, when Todd was talking to Price from Insomniac, he specifically said, this is just the base game, the core game. We are going to add, we have lists of things that we want to add. He even talked about putting some of the difficulty stuff back in there that they stripped out to make it more accessible. We could wind up with a much more sim-like game within a couple years as well, that you could play it more hardcore if you really want to. This game's going to be around forever, just like all their other games. But this is the biggest palette that they have ever given us or the modding community or themselves to work with. This game is going to live on and on and on, Mav. This is going to be an insane thing to talk about when we're like in our 60s and we're still playing Starfield. It's going to be nuts, man. Hopefully Starfield 2 by that point. But, and then if ZeniMax Online does come with a Starfield MMO, bro, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It'll be nuts.
I know. I see a lot of people in here. All of you guys are all beautiful, and I'll run through names, but I just want to say that as we're talking about Starfield, Mav, this is the thing. There's a big group of people in our chat right now that are saying the same things as us.
Yeah.
They're all at different points. Some people are at, 80 hours. Some people are over 100 hours. Some people are, over 200 like me, whatever the case may be. But they all kind of have the same thoughts and feelings. A lot of them are saying, no, we could talk Starfield all night. I could do this all night. This is my game of the year. I don't care about the Game Awards. I don't care if it gets snubbed. This is my game of the year. This is my game of the generation. there is as much as parts of this community would like you to believe that it failed, Starfield did exactly what it needed to do. Maybe it didn't do it in the wider grand scheme of things when it came to the reviews and being 9s across the board or whatever the case may be. Maybe if you want to look at it from that perspective, it didn't meet that mark, but it did what it was meant to do, which was drive conversation around the game and around Xbox. And then no matter what, at the end of the day, they got a ton of publicity off this game map. Yeah. And it's going to continue to be that way because I'm not stopping sharing. So again, guys are sick of my pictures. You're going to have to mute me on Twitter, on X, okay? Because I'm going to continue to share out this game. Let's go, Mav. Let's get on. Let's get into this. Steel Rain, brother from another's in the house. I miss you, brother. I haven't talked to you all week either. It's been a crazy week, man. I hope everything's going well for you. Normally we're in a couple chats by now, but I haven't talked to you, brother. I'm going to miss you on Saturday too, because we're not doing our show Saturday, which is going to be weird. But anyways, Steel Rain, Miss K's TV. What's going on, Miss K's TV? Great to have you jump in here. We've got Eastside Vandal. We got Spartan 661. We got Why So Serious is in here. What's going on? We got Poisoned Maniac, the one and oldie. Shout out to you, Poison. We got Roshan Eppinger in the house. We got the OCDgamer. We got the actually guy, Lore Master Jasper. What's going on, Lore? We got It's Timmy. It's Timmy's in here. We got the Hooded Canuck. What's going on, Hooded? We got Relski in the house. What's going on, Relski? Who else? We got Jay's World 2021. What is going on, Jay's World? Great to see you. Says, love Starfield. Definitely my game of the year. Shout out to that. We got Psyman. What's going on, Psyman? Pete Hines said he was playing like Iron Man. There are probably perks to make that happen. Yeah, he was more talking about if you are on a low grav planet and you have your jetpack maxed out. Yes, you can basically fly forever. I was almost into the upper atmosphere. I just wanted to see how high I could get. I could just keep going and going and going. Like I was so far off the ground, it's ridiculous. And then you add the weapons and some of the weapon mods in there. Yeah, for sure. Oates, what's going on? Oates, great to see you. Oates comes with a different perspective. So I played about 4 hours so far, but could tell I'm not in the right mindset to tackle it right now. So I'd rather hold off so that I really take my time and enjoy it. Perfect, yeah. Oates, perfect. Not that you played 4 hours and this game sucks. That's why I'm just not into it right now. No, Oates, that's the perfect response. You can tell you're not in the right mindset. So yeah, put it away, man. It's going to be there for a long time and it's going to keep getting better and better too. It's another interesting conversation to have because what Todd was saying, we're just kind of past that point. Almost all games come out now are kind of like, hey, we'll fix them. We'll keep improving them. And if you can get over your FOMO, save yourself a lot of money on single player games these days. That's for damn sure. But Oates, love the perspective. We got Creator Ogunrami. Ogunrami is in the house. What's going on? Great to see you in here. We got the Dark Zone 2525. What's going on? We got Doom Reaper is in here. What's going on, Doom? We got Brian Gilbo. Oh, God, it's been a long day at work. I say a lot of names at work, all different types of names. So when I get here on Thursday night, sometimes the mouth just does not want to work. But Brian,
I think it's Gibo.
Is it Gibo?
I think
we'll go with Gibo. That's fine. I'll roll with Gibo right now. It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Gibo, Brian, great to see you in here. We got Emil in the house. What's going on, Emil? Biggest game this gen. That is a fact. And I don't think anything's topping it. Eastside Vandal, what's going on? Talos Re is in here. What's going on, Talos? We got the Beer Barons up in here. Hope you brought some extra for everybody, beer. We got Understanding in the house. What's going on? Can we get 60 frames per second? That brings up an interesting point. I would love to see it. I would love to see them just do the uncapped frames that they talked about that was actually there until they locked it down for people with VRR. Mav, I'm now, because I've been playing so much when I come home from work and I don't feel like sitting at this desk on my PC, even for all the visual upgrades in the 60 frames. I've been playing. I'm probably 70-30 now on the Xbox, right? On Starfield.
I've been playing
my
more
200
on Xbox
hours
recently too. Yeah,
bro, again, would the 60 frames be nice? Yes.
Yeah.
But is the 30 frames one of those horrible 30 frames that is like, oh my, and again, I'm not one of those people that's overly bothered by it, but I can tell a bad 30 frames, okay? It still does from time to time make my eyes go weird when you do have a choppy 30 frames. This game is smooth as silk at 30 frames in most areas on the Series X. But yes, I would love to see them patch an uncapped mode, or if they eventually can get the game to run at 60 frames, of course. Of course, 60 frames will always be better to me. So, but again, it doesn't bother me at all doing it this way.
The screenshot I took of Walter was actually on the Series X.
All my screenshots, I marked mine, so I will say Xbox share or PC share, depending on where my screenshots come from. As you guys go back through and scroll through my stuff, you'll see most of mine over the past 2-3 weeks now have been Xbox share. Unbelievable. Like, again, yes, if you've played it on PC with a really nice card like me and Mav, you could definitely tell the difference. Like, there are times too when I'm taking a picture and I'm like, oh God, this would look so much better on a PC. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But for the most part, again, just playing the game after I don't notice it, Mav. It plays so well. It really does. Like, I love it. But yes, I would love to see that understanding for sure. Ilray Tito is in here. What's going on, Ilray? Who else we got in here? We got Amit Kumar. What's going on, Amit? He says, I hope in the future update Bethesda allows you to customize the interior of the ship when you're in the shipbuilding mode. I want to choose where the ladders go and where certain doors go. Yes, and they need to add graphics that you can add to your ship. I want a pirate skull on my ship. I can't have a pirate skull. I want them to increase all of that kind of stuff, the customization side of things. I'd love for them to eventually update Mav with a transmog system so that I can wear the armor I want to wear no matter what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
I hope that's kind of a normal thing nowadays. I'd love to see them implement that as well. But yes, absolutely. Spiderman 356, what's going on? Great to see you, sir, as well. ATL, yo, what is going on, ATL? It's been a while, brother. Cade is in the house. What is going on, Cade? Oh man, the possibilities with mods. So many interesting stories based off movies, TVs, and games. And they've already taken so much influence from movies, TVs, and games in Starfield. Like, it's ridiculous how many things I come across that, and that's part of the reason why I'm so addicted. It feels like I'm living out a sci-fi movie while I'm playing the game with an open narrative that I get to create.
Yeah.
Like, it literally feels like that. Like, this is the best of everything right now. Who else we got in here? Bump, bump, bump. Bump, bump. Did I miss anybody else? I'm going up to the top here. Come on. Where is God? You guys are talking a lot because we were talking so much Starfield. Dion Hayes. What's going on, Dion? Dion says, I'm not bored. I love it. The Starfield talk is awesome. Gives me great ideas for what I could do in the game. Absolutely. That's the other thing. Seeing other people and how they're playing, what they're finding, what they're doing in this game also does that for me. Like I said, Nero on X, formerly known as Twitter, his outpost building is stupid. It is crazy. He got an article written about him. I think Paul Tassi wrote it in Forbes. It's crazy. That kind of stuff, absolutely the same thing for me. Gets me excited. I've seen so much stuff I want to try and want to do. And like I said, when Mav posted about his outpost building, it gave me an itch. Like, because I was like, God, I really got to get into that. I really want to
get in deep to it if you really want to invest in it, man. It's pretty cool.
Yes. And I do. And I still have no interest in going to New Game Plus. Like, that's the funny part. Like, I still don't even have magic. I don't even have the space magic yet. Yeah. I still have no interest in the space magic. Like, all that stuff is just going to open up this game even more when I get there. Like, that's how dumb all this is. Like, I'm blown away by how many hours I've put in and how little I've done of the actual game outside of my adventuring. Like, it's boggling my mind right now. Jason Max in the house. What's going on, Jason? Great to see you. We've got Big Mad Mo in the house. What's going on, Big Mad Mo? He says, keep it going. God, people love Starfield. I'm telling you. Abdel114 says, yo, talk that shit. That's right, Abdel. What's going on, Abdel? Great to see you in here. Who else? Did I miss anybody? God dang, you guys. Polybaba's in here. What's going on, Polybaba? Always great to see you. Thank you for joining us. We got, I already did Relski. We got Niturnal in the house. We got Dylan Strong in the house. What's going on, Dylan? Great to see you joining us. We got Razor NZ in the house, all the way from New Zealand. Always a pleasure, Razor. Thanks for dropping in here. We got Siki in the house. What's going on, Siki? He said, "Oh, PM and the PM will be interesting if Starfield misses the nomination." It'll be an interesting talking and discussion, especially with those of us that love Starfield. It won't be shocking to me in this year that reviewers that did not appreciate Starfield in the way that we do, or even close to what we do, find other games to be able to slot in there instead of Starfield. So could it miss the nomination? Yeah. And again, it wouldn't surprise me when we talk about it. Of course, we're going to talk about it because we're going to pick apart the other games that are in there. Besides Baldur's Gate 3, we'll pick apart the other games that are going to be in there and talk about them, why Starfield could have easily been, gotten in there. But it's just not going to be shocking to me. It wouldn't be shocking to you, would it, Mav, if it missed out?
I honestly,
not saying winning nomination.
Yeah, I think it would be shocking for me, honestly. I think so. Like, I think that we would have to really think about even further games media and stuff like that at that point. Okay, for me personally,
might have a really nice PM and the PM coming up towards the end of the year, folks. If Mav's on one of those ranting modes, that'll be interesting. Snooky Jackson's up in here. What's going on, Snooky? Great to see you. DJD925. Awesome to have you a part of our show. Thanks for dropping in and saying hi. Brother Psychonauts. What's going on, Psycho? Great to have you in here. Always, sir. Miss you, brother. Haven't talked to you in a while. Can't wait to get on a show tomorrow night. Rangy 4 sliding through, one of the OGs. What's up, brother? Great to have you in here. The Herd of Therium. What's going on, Herd? I made a save file for that moment of the decision, and now I have 2 playthroughs happening at the same time. One is my original game that I hope to one day 100%, and also have my NG Plus going. Good idea. Yeah. That's kind of cool. That's a different way to play it. Awesome. Love to hear that. Donnie Skills is in here. What's going on, Donnie Skills? Thanks for dropping in here and saying hi. Magnum Westward, Game Shark, all you guys dropping in here. Sensei Matrix, the one, the only, Crispy Bomb dropping on in here. What's going on, Crispy? Great to have you saying hi. Appreciate you, brother. Andrew Cullinane, of course, dropping on in here. What's going on, Andrew? And of course, Sanchez MTZ Gaming. Man, Alvin. What's going on, Alvin? Amazing people in here. Listen, if I missed y'all, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people talking, a lot of people having conversation. Infinite Umbra. What's going on, Mr. Ego? Thanks for joining the chat, sir. Appreciate you. Masshole 1977. I see you dropping in here too. BT Maverick. What's going on? What's going on, BT? We got Nicholas London here as well. And the one and only Web Dave. My God. Mav, we got a worldwide audience tonight, sir. One Speculation Network hitting. RJ, I see you in here. What did RJ say? RJ said, did anyone else notice the guy named the Hunter inside the Viewpoint store on New Atlantis? He just stands. Yes. I went and talked to him.
I saw him in Aquila.
Oh, in Aquila. Okay, no, he was in New Atlantis for me as well. He looked like he's from the future because he's wearing the future outfit. Interesting.
He's the guy that was wearing all black, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it kind of had that futuristic look. He was like, yeah. No, I talked to him early on. I think I actually took a picture of him too. Because I thought he was pretty damn cool. Boba Fett Gaming, what's going on? Oh, the wonderful LadyFoxFire dropping on in here. What's going on, LadyFoxFire? As always, Def Leopard, I see you too. Man, we got the OGs dropping in here too. God, you guys are beautiful. Thank you for joining me and Mav on a Thursday night to end September with a huge, long, nearly hour-long intro of just Starfield talk. That's how we do it here, me and Mav, because we're over the moon for Starfield, pun intended. That's for damn sure. Nighturnal, I see you as well. Thank you for dropping in here. Before we move on, Mav, real quick, I do want to give a special shout out. This man does lurk in our chat a lot. More so than we probably even know, but he pops up from time to time. But if he's lurking or if he catches this later, quick shout out and congratulations to the one, the only Randall Thor for hitting 100,000 subs on YouTube. Talk about an achievement. Of course, he's already known for one of his achievements, obviously hitting 1 million on stage at Xbox, but generating that much content, that much quality content for all the years that he's done it now and hitting that 100K it's a huge moment. And Rand's one of the best in the business. He was a huge influence on me, Steel, Mav, a lot of us newcomers, relative newcomers to the YouTube game. A lot of us, Rand and obviously Jez, Xbox 2 was one of the big shows that we all gravitated towards. And so I just wanted to give a special shout out to the brother because Rand has been really awesome. He's hit me up plenty of times. We had conversation in the DMs all the time and all that kind of stuff. Just one of the really, really good dudes and well-deserved 100K for sure. Matt, do you have anything to add to that, sir?
No, I mean, one of the best shows out there, like seriously, and been at it for a long time, and a class act type individual too. Like, just a great guy. I'm super happy for him. Onwards and upwards to everything that they got going on, bro. Brandon, Jez, great chemistry. It's kind of one of the things that inspired this show, right? I feel like, and I you know, love their format, and you know, I was like, you know, I gotta do something. He's given a lot of help and suggestions and tips to me behind the scenes. Just absolutely class act person. One of the best people in the community. And I can't be happier really for them. 100,000. That's a milestone. I mean, goals, right? I'd love for our channel to get there one day. But also to add to that, another milestone was hit this past weekend with another podcast that is absolutely one of my favorites, and that's Iron Lord's podcast hit 20K as well.
Massive.
As a channel that really started with mainly doing the podcasting thing, right? And then they're adding more shows and do all these, do a lot of these other things. And
lordsofgaming.net.
And lordsofgaming.net, everything else they got going on. But as far as the YouTube channel goes, like it was mainly like a show a week type channel for a long time.
It was.
But they keep doing a lot of these other things and they keep growing. The amount of respect that they have within the industry that they're gaining within industry wide and stuff is like absolutely great to see. This community with podcasting, YouTube, and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and all these people that we've met that you see on these shows, right? The Iron Lords, the Randolph Thors, the Jez Cordons, you know, everybody from Iron Lords, the class act. Just great people, and they deserve all the success that they're getting. And I hope they continue to grow and become something that transcends beyond even what is happening now, right? Because these are some of the people that are pushing all of us forward, right?
Correct. Yep.
They are. So keep it up, guys.
They're giving the people that do it the right way.
Yeah.
Here, the good members of this community give legitimacy to the rest of us that are smaller, that have taken influence from them, and kind of how we shape it. Now we do things differently, of course. Everybody kind of has their own spin, but the fact is, the people out here working hard, doing things the right way, getting the credit that they deserve. And again, not everybody shows up here on YouTube as a business. Again, none of us here at Fun Speculation Network did it. Steele and I and Living Split Screen, we never came into this thinking, oh God, we're going to make YouTube millions. That's not everybody does it that way. But the fact is that some of these people are proving that you can do what you love for all the right reasons. And if you do it the right way, you put in the hard work, you set the goals, and you get there, that the rewards come, that you're not just rewarded for being negative, that you're not just rewarded for clickbait all the time, that you're not just rewarded for all this kind of stuff, that other people outside of YouTube and outside of this community will even take notices, including companies like Xbox. And shout out to Iron Lords for getting the NZXT, obviously partnership and getting hooked up with all new PCs. That's the kind of rewards that they can get. And the Iron Lords are taking that next step. They want to make this a big deal, right? They want to become a media company, and they're moving towards that, but they haven't lost themselves. and you can go watch any of their Sunday shows and you realize they haven't lost themselves. They're still a group of buddies all getting together to talk about their favorite industry. That's all they do. And they happen to bring on great guests all the time. And again, I think that brings legitimacy to us as YouTubers. Like I said, as the mainstream media continues to shoot themselves in the foot over and over again, and more people turn to regular Joes who aren't making a living off of it or not professionals and still want to talk about this stuff, I think that helps us as well as a community. So shout out to them. Great point, Mav, to bring up Iron Lords. I had congratulated them earlier, but I didn't even think about it when I was doing Rand's thing. So great shout out for 20K. They're on their way up. When I first started watching Iron Lords, when I jumped in this community, I think on Sundays, I think I started watching when they used to have like maybe like 200 people in chat, somewhere around there, 250, blowing up because of how they handle themselves. And I think that's a testament to all those dudes over there. Every single one of them are great.
The respect that, Xbox 2 and Rand and Jez and the Iron Lords podcast, they're just
yes
great. Every single one of them is as nice as you could hope they would be, right? Like,
absolutely
amazingly respectful people, just great people.
Love them all. All right, we have given a lot of people a lot of flowers here, Mav. We have a big slate of news, and obviously we should probably start with the thumbnail. We should probably start with Ryan's Last Dance. Jim Ryan's Last Dance. Of course, thumbnail's playing off of one of the nicknames he got from this community, Dance Moves. For anybody who doesn't know, Jason Schreier started the fire about 10 minutes prior to official release. He put out a tweet. I made sure to screenshot it and post it for everybody who's blocked, because there's probably about 1 million people blocked by Jason Schreier. But he put out a tweet that he had sources stating that Jim Ryan was stepping down as head of PlayStation. Two sources, he said, had told Bloomberg News. And then about 10 minutes later, we got the actual blog post from Sony announcing it. I'm sorry if my camera goes crazy because it's a white screen, so I got to read from white screen, so I apologize. I won't leave it up any longer than I have to. But let me read the official statement here, Matt, for anybody who doesn't know. September 28th, 2023, Tokyo. September 27, San Mateo, California, because of course that's their headquarters in the United States. Sony Group Corporation and Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE, today announced that SIE President and CEO Jim Ryan has made the decision to retire in March 2024 after almost 30 years with the PlayStation business. To support Mr. Ryan in his transition, Sony Group Corporation President, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki will assume the role of chairman of SIE effective October 2023. Effective April 1st, 2024, Mr. Totoki will be appointed interim CEO of SIE while he continues his current role at Sony Group Corporation. Mr. Totoki will work closely with Sony Group Corporation Chairman and CEO Kenichiro Yoshida and the management team of SIE to help define the next chapter of PlayStation's future, including the succession of the SIE CEO role. Jim Ryan joined Sony Interactive Entertainment's Europe-based legal entity, Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe, SIEE, which was then Sony Computer Entertainment Europe in 1994. Since then, he has held a number of senior positions at the company, including president of SIEE, head of global sales and marketing at SIE, and deputy president of SIE since January 2018, before being appointed to SIE president and CEO. This is a comment from Yoshida. Quote, Jim Ryan has been an inspirational leader throughout this entire period with us, but never more so than overseeing the launch of the PlayStation 5 in the midst of a global COVID pandemic. The extraordinary achievement made by the entire SIE team has been steadily built on, and PlayStation 5 is on track to become SIE's most successful console yet. I'm immensely grateful to Jim for all of his achievements. Respecting Jim's decision to finish his long career at Sony leaves me with an important decision regarding his succession, given the significance of the game and network services business. We have discussed intensively and have determined the new management structure. We aim to achieve Sony Group's further evolution and growth through bringing even greater success to the game and network services business. Comment from Jim Ryan, quote, after 30 years, I've made a decision to retire from SIE on March 2024. I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company, working with great people and incredible partners, but I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives across the world. PlayStation will always be a part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of SIE. I want to thank Yoshida-san for placing so much trust in me and being an incredibly sensitive and supportive leader. And then Mr. Tsutoki also put in his quote, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Jim Ryan for his outstanding achievements and contributions over his 30-year career at Sony, including the great success of launching the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation business managed by SIE is an essential part of Sony Group's entire business portfolio. I will work with Jim and the senior management team closely to ensure continued success and further growth. I'm also looking forward to creating the exciting future of PlayStation and the game industry together with everyone at SIE and its business partners, end quote. All right, Mav. We also, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to get rid of that. Hold on for a second. Also, of course, as always, there was a lot being written about this, a lot of unknowns still, but as always, class act, Phil Spencer. Again, this is one of the reasons why we like him as we do. And some people love him as a CEO because he's always, no matter what, at the end of the day, in public, he's going to be a bright spot. And he put out a tweet in the middle of all this to say, Jim Ryan has been a great contributor to our industry and a fierce leader for PlayStation. I wish him the best in what he does next. Thank you for all you've done for the community over the past 30 years, Jim. Short, sweet, to the point. And again, something he didn't have to do. Something he definitely did not have to do. So this is where we get into the conversation, Mav. This is Ryan's last dance. April 2024. He is out. He's going to go fishing, drink some wine, whatever he's going to do. He's going to go enjoy life in Europe. Good on him. But there's a lot of questions remaining. Questions that a lot of us will probably never have answers to because we're never inside these companies. We don't know the exact scenarios of what was going on. So we're going to be in speculation town here a little bit with some of this stuff, obviously. And again, I'm going to start here, Mav, and then I'll bring you in. You did a Mavcast last night, so I know kind of where you're going to go with this. But here's what I'll say up front about this. Whatever the reason Jim Ryan is leaving PlayStation, 30 years in this industry, yet alone with one company, is impressive. Okay. What he did for PlayStation overall is nothing short of gargantuan. Okay. He took their European division to number one, and you can credit him as much as you want to. And I know a lot of people like to discredit this stuff, but the fact is that he did cut his teeth by doing other things prior to becoming the head of PlayStation, and he proved himself. Now, Jim overall as a public figure is not personable. He doesn't come off likable. And I think that that's an uphill battle he's probably faced even internally because he is a business-minded dude. Now, who knows? Behind the scenes, maybe he's a total comedian and he's cracking jokes all the time. I don't think so, but maybe that's the case. But at face value, the guy has fought off and clawed his way to the top in an extremely competitive industry. And I've got to give him respect for that. I will always give respect for that. Same way I give Phil working his way all the way from the bottom at Microsoft to now where he's at. But for Jim, he's not a likable person. So that will always be a knock against him because people don't look at Jim the same way they look at Sean Layden, the same way they look at Peter Moore, the same way they look at Phil Spencer, right? The same way they look at Regis Fils-Aimé. Personable CEOs in an entertainment industry make a lot of people happy and give people good feelings. Jim came out of nowhere and, according to most sources, beat out Sean Layden for the spot because of his business sense, because that's what Sony Corp believed they needed at the head of PlayStation into the PlayStation 5. Whatever the reason, give mad respect to this man for what he did in the industry for as long as he did with one company. Again, but Jim has his faults, as most human beings do. All human beings have faults. And his were glaring at points because of his unlikable nature and because he didn't come across as a gamer. So in this community, for sure, very easy to dismiss Jim Ryan. And obviously the memes, he's very meme worthy, as Gaz put out there today. A lot of people are going to miss that part of him. But Jim overall for the industry and for Sony did a lot of great things. So, Mav, I'll let you lead here because you got your bars off last night on Mavcast, but obviously not everybody in the chat probably heard that Mavcast. So I want to bring you in and get your point of view as to what Jim Ryan's legacy will be. I've got some things I want to add to this discussion. I've got some things I've been thinking about. Like I said, I think that we're going to have some different opinions here, or just a different perspective on where things are with Jim right now and his legacy at this moment. So go ahead, Mav. I know you had a lot to say last night, but break it down for us. What do you think about Jim Ryan's legacy?
It's for me, honestly, it's kind of hard to paint a picture right now because we don't know a lot, right? He's leaving PlayStation at a time, and this was announced at a time when they don't really have a lot announced for their pipeline. And this was one of my main discussions last night was, I feel like when you look at a legacy, you feel like you want to look at the impact that the person has made and what state they're leaving it in. Is it better or worse than when they took it over, right? What did they accomplish within that time that they were in charge, right? And a lot of times people that end up taking over for things for a period of time get a lot of credit for stuff that was laid out by the previous leadership because of the foundation that they had set and all the things that they had set in motion. They leave. All of a sudden, all these things that had been in the works and planned for years and years happen under your watch, right? When you're there. But all the things that you're setting in motion, it's 5 years in the grand scheme of things is not long enough to see long-term effects from all the things that you have done, right? What is going to be the next 5 to 10 years for PlayStation, especially the next 5 after he leaves? That's where we'll really see Jim's legacy, right? What did he accomplish? And if I'm to judge it today, based on what I see in front of me, I look at it as in maybe he didn't leave it in a better place than they were at before. And not only that, but he was also the person that was in charge when he did have control over a lot of these decisions, or at least you would think a lot of influence over a lot of these decisions, led the way with a lot of very tough decisions as far as consumers go, as far as decisions with the ecosystem, decisions with certain projects that got kicked off that were more cash grabby and stuff like that as well. You can't tell me it took 5 years to make remasters and remakes and stuff like that. That's stuff that happened there, right? But like games, new IP that launched under his watch, like Ghost of Tsushima, was in development since 2014 originally. So yeah, you can look at, hey, Ghost of Tsushima launched, right? It happened under his watch. It was a new IP. Jim created a new IP. Well, yeah, you could say that, hey, the game launched under his watch, but a lot of these projects, remember that we broke down that 2016 PlayStation showcase where they just like laid their dick on the table for everybody to see and say, this is going to be our next like 5 years, right? They've been using that template that was laid out at that time, making sequels on all of those games, making remasters, definitive editions on all those games. All of that stuff was laid out by the previous leadership team. So then when we look at the exciting announcements for the future right now of PlayStation, things that are going to be grabbing us or super exciting the next, like in 2024, 2025, 2026 from first party, I look at it as like, what is there that's really exciting for me? And the fact that we don't have that right now leaves me a lot of questions on what his legacy is going to be, right? Will his legacy be that he turned PlayStation into a live service model company and they've abandoned most of the first party action adventure third person games for the sake of these games? Is he going to have the legacy of experimentation and cancellation? Is he going to have the legacy of half stepping into subscription gaming, half stepping into all these other aspects to make a more unified consumer focused ecosystem that actually gives extra quality of life features, all these things? Or is it going to be looked at as the guy that raised prices, as the first platform holder to raise prices, the platform that said we believe in generations bluntly and to downplay your opponent? Remember, the reason that he made those statements back then as we believe in generations was because of the controversy that Xbox and Microsoft had laid out, that they said they were going to be supporting Xbox One for a couple of years. They used that as a marketing tactic and an opportunity. I'm not saying it was a bad decision. Obviously, it worked in their favor. You got the media behind it. You got console war people behind it. You got casuals behind it, all these kind of things. Well, Xbox is going to be holding back next gen. You remember all of that conversation, right? Remember, we believe in generations, and then come out and you have been supporting cross-gen even more than Xbox has over the last several years. All of these things, bold-faced lies to sell.
CEO speak.
CEO speak, whatever. I get it. I get the salesman approach, right?
You have to.
I get the salesman approach. However, I don't know if I've seen another CEO as blunt from PlayStation, Xbox, or Microsoft as bluntly just lie to your face and do something completely opposite as I have with Jim Ryan. I've seen a lot of lies, right?
Case by case.
We believe in generations. I mean, there's like all these different
I know,
things.
I know. There's a lot of them. I'm just saying case by case from Phil. We now know through the courts that was not reality, right?
For which example?
Bethesda games case by case basis.
Oh, right.
I mean, we know now that behind the scenes, that was not the conversation.
It's a little different when you're being like under oath and in front of a courtroom and stuff like that, or they have like leaked emails.
What I'm saying is Jim saying that publicly, we believe in generations, right, was to your point, Mav, and it's valid, right? He was playing off of Microsoft's bad media that they were getting for still supporting. He was playing that off to try to get an advantage for PlayStation 5. But that's, to me, that's CEO, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Like, you grab those advantages. And if internally they were saying, well, yeah, we're going to support all that stuff too, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But I get what you're saying. Like, I do understand. I'm just saying Phil does it too, right? Again, I don't count this against anybody. Like, again, to me, people out here screaming, lying all the damn time. I'm like, no, it's a CEO of $1 billion company. He's going to say what he needs to say. Like, that's kind of
that's why I say I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's marketing at the end of the day. It's marketing, but his has been so blatant and obvious, right? And
it's been more glaring because he's not personable. He comes out when Phil says something, it's a big smile, and everybody goes, "Oh, Phil, you're such a nice guy. That's so cool." When Jim says is like, "Oh, Jesus, Jim, really?"
Yeah. I mean, there's been like just so many incidents. It's hard to think back at all the moments like where they're saying something, right? And then like the interview that they do with like an industry person or something, somebody that's questioned is like everything with the outlook on the decisions that they're making is completely different from the presentation, obviously, that they're putting forth to their fans, which I understand that completely, right? I get that. But the things that have been championed under his watch and without a clear pipeline that I know of right now that has me excited, right? That is questionable. And maybe, like I said on the stream last night, I don't know if you caught it, like, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever, I could look back and after all the pipeline starts getting announced and stuff, and I'll take every single thing I said about him back, right? But I can tell you right now, like, and it's been this way for a little while, like, just because it's not because they haven't been releasing great games, it's just because some of the franchises that they have been pushing and doing the sequels of and all that kind of stuff aren't as exciting for me personally, right?
Sure.
But I respect the games that they're making and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I think they've been doing an amazing job. They obviously are selling hardware like crazy, and he deserves a lot of credit for that as well. All those kind of things. Staying on top is sometimes just as hard as getting on top, right?
Right. Whoa. Pause.
We got some
pause.
Got some rodeo cowboys that are trying to hold on for that 8 seconds, right? And that's Jim to me. He's
Sometimes you got to rope a bit.
He's trying to hold on for that 8 seconds. Maintaining can be hard. I actually believe he deserves credit for the sales approach and putting out those narratives that I do feel like was a lot of lies, a lot of salesmanship, a lot of that kind of stuff, right? He's good at that. But the things the actual decisions that were made, right? The actual decisions that were made, the things that were done since he was there, I've had a lot of issues with, right? With PlayStation.
Of course.
And that's where I'm coming from. Look, is that going to be his legacy when we go back and look at, okay, so the legacy under Jim Ryan was the first party platform to raise prices, the first party platform to do a major gaming subscription service and not do their games day and date, but then still increase prices. And when you're have an inferior service to your competitors, to go out there and challenge blatantly as much an acquisition by the competitor and then lose while making all these statements and all of these lies. And that's another thing with the lies, is like the ABK stuff. He always knew that stuff was going to happen with the games coming to PlayStation. That he knew that the offers were made to him. All that stuff, again, he's doing his thing, trying to block the deal. But to be that invested into it, make the statements and everything that he did, and then also come out on the losing end of it as well with this. I mean, it's not a good look. After all of this is said and done, the main thing for me, it comes down to the pipeline of games. And what has been kickstarted, what is there. I feel like there hasn't been a lot that has been shown since he's taken over that's new, that started under his watch yet. That is exciting for the future pipeline of PlayStation. Of course. Meanwhile, the things that he has done is we've got half steps into all of these other aspects. We're going to half step into subscription gaming. We're going to half step into PC gaming. We're going to half step into these. We're not doing day and date on this. We're not doing day and date on that. We're still not improving quality of life things for the consumers. We're not doing cross buy. We're not doing all these other things, right? Instead, we're just raising prices on everything and defending it and championing that. And meanwhile, like I just say, at the time, right? Yeah, obviously everybody's followed suit, right? But at the time, they were the only platform holder championing it. Right?
Yes.
The raise of prices to 70. And I was majorly against that, because when that happened, all these companies were recording record profits and growth like they had never seen before.
Capcom wants to go higher, Math. So
yeah, they do. It's crazy. And I will speak against that.
We're not supposed to speak against it. We're crazy for speaking against it, according to some people. So
I don't care if a game costs you $50 in 1985. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me, right? Like, it's just like there is so much that has been done business-wise to, I feel like, milk and gain every dollar out of the consumer without the benefit back to the quality of life features back towards the consumer under his watch. without the pipeline to back it up for the future. Right now, it's hard to look at his tenure as potentially a success, but we'll see what that pipeline is going forward. But right now, this year was our opportunity, I feel like, to showcase a lot of that stuff, and they completely botched it. They had nothing exciting at their big state of play show that this year. Remember, this was their first one they had in a couple years, the big show for summertime, and they came out there and they're like, no, we don't really have anything to show. We're going to show these live service games that we don't really actually know when they're coming out. We don't actually know we don't have anything to show on them. We're just going to show you some CGI trailers and give you hopes and dreams, and then I hope you like this stuff. We don't have anything from any of our big companies, from our big games, big franchises, no big new IPs, nothing like that. And you look at what the competition's doing with Microsoft and everything that they have going forward with the pipeline, and the quality of life features and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry if I compare, right? But as a consumer, I want the best value possible. And I feel like the value has gotten worse on PlayStation for me. It's gotten better on Xbox under his tenure. And what is those games going to be? When are we going to get to see them? Ultimately, that'll be his legacy, right? If all they have is the Concords, the fair games, the marathons, and all that kind of stuff, and they aren't really have a great pipeline for 2024, 2025, his legacy is a failure, because it only takes a year or two to really start to stumble. And they only have one big first-party game announced right now, and that's Spider-Man 2, or for release date anyway. So besides that, we'll see what happens. But, you know, a lot of speculation about the pipeline, what's going to happen in 2024. I have no freaking clue. But I'm saying, if it's that exciting, why didn't they announce those games this year? Right. That's where I leave it. I think he smells the writing on the wall, and he's bowing out before it gets bad.
Okay, fair enough. I agree with some of what you said for sure. So I'll get into that. Lakers fan, real quick. Lakers fan. This is way off topic, but if the Knights of Old Republic is canceled, I don't know how the contract works with Sony, but if that project is canceled and the rights revert back to Lucas, Phil, go drop off the bag and give Knights of the Old Republic to Obsidian, please.
Yeah.
Go do it. It will be a huge W for you if you gave that game to Obsidian. Sorry, way off topic, but he brought it up in there. I was like, yes, if that does happen. Again, we don't know. There's a lot of problems going on in this industry right now, as we'll probably talk about after we get done with this topic. So let's stay here with, obviously, Jim. All right. So like I said, I agree with what you said as far as for me overall. And again, Chad, you all know me. Most of you have been listening to me for long enough to understand my criticisms of Jim and Sony, PlayStation, and what they're doing specifically this generation. So don't get me wrong. I kind of feel like I'm a Jim defender here a little bit, but I'm not. I still have a lot of issues with what he's done. For me, I don't consider it a failure. I consider it incomplete, like you were saying, Mav, due to mostly an incomplete, due to the fact that, like you said, we're not going to know what his legacy is until the games that are in the pipeline right now, and there is a lot of them, do come out eventually. And then we'll be able to look back and judge Jim a little bit differently about the projects that were greenlit underneath him and how those turned out. But I will say this to the people in the chat that were saying that he was handed a great position with Sony being number one and obviously the industry leader outside of Nintendo, right? Obviously we know that, but just saying overall, the industry leader, you're half right. I look at Jim as taking over a championship sports team as a new GM, right? But an aging championship team, a team that won a bunch, but now all of its superstars are getting old. And the way I look at this is Jim was brought on during this transition period right prior to the PlayStation 5 launching, because as Mav pointed out, all the stuff, all the games coming out had already been underneath Layden, that had already been greenlit underneath Layden. That whole lineup was coming out. I don't give Jim credit for those games at all. He took over at a specific point for PlayStation because he and I believe most of Sony Corp realized that this was going to be a reloading period for those studios, that there was only so much is going to be done. I think also Jim had a vision. Now, again, the things that we don't know are a lot of the missing pieces here. Satya and Phil's relationship is in the public eye. We've seen that partnership. It's of one mind. Okay. We don't know what Sony Corp, because again, it's an Eastern company. They're more tight-lipped. They're not in the public like an Xbox, like a Microsoft is. We don't know what Sony Corp's thought process is about where the video game industry is going and how fast they think it's going to transition to an all digital, how fast they think that, you know, they can grow their market outside of the console. We don't know any of that stuff, right? So we can only speculate here, and I'm speculating. Jim was brought in to make some very tough decisions to make Sony PlayStation lean and mean for this specific time, and also start the transition process to a new look PlayStation, because they saw, I believe, at least to some degree, not fully, but they saw the walls that they were going to run into if they kept going the same route. Jim's come out and talked about it as far as the AAA cost of making brand new AAA IPs, those single player experiences that is Sony's bread and butter. He's talked about that. He's talked about how that's not sustainable. We had Phil's email where he went in depth about what he thinks has happened to the AAA industry, why it's so risky, and we all know it's a high-risk business, all that kind of stuff. So that tells me that Jim saw some of that coming up. And they knew that during this time frame, all these games were going to come out. They were set. They didn't obviously know the pandemic was going to happen. That changed things as well. But they knew they were set for a short period of time through the launch of PlayStation 5. But after that point, they knew their studios were going to change. They also knew and saw, now again, how much we'll never know, but they saw Microsoft and Xbox waking up, right? They saw Godzilla coming back. And whether or not they prepared for that fully, we'll never know. But the fact is they saw that happening. They brought in Jim to make him lean and mean. That's why when you saw Jim take over, he closed down like Japan Studios, right? A beloved studio over in the East, closed them down. He made some very hard decisions up front, right? To set them up. What I will give him credit for is going out and making the acquisitions he did. Now, again, they don't have the money that Xbox has, right? With Microsoft opening up the wallet. He did what he could with what he had. I also give Jim credit along with those acquisitions, being very strategic in his acquisitions.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And setting up PlayStation to move into the PC market, right? Which they hadn't done before. Now, is it as fast a transition as I had hoped it would be? No, of course not. Is it as quality transition as I had hoped it would be? Of course not. We've seen the problems with a lot of their PC releases, but the fact is that's a new space for them. Jim set them up to do that with like a Nixus purchase, right? He went out and made sure that they were set up there. So I got to give Jim credit there. He also did lead and has led, even despite the fact, to Mav's point, that they've been putting out a lot of remakes, a lot of remasters, a lot of definitive editions, a lot of this, a lot of filler. We'll call it filler. We'll call it what it is. Thank God for Insomniac can put out 3 Spider-Man games in 5 years, right? But most of it's been a lot of filler, Ratchet and Clank as well. I mean, again, crazy Insomniac, how much they've supported. But what he has done is he has maintained through all of that the lead that PlayStation had originally coming into this generation, which I personally didn't think was going to happen. Now, again, Xbox has had their own trip ups. The pandemic really blew up a lot of things for a lot of people, specifically on Xbox side, delayed a lot of stuff. I thought Xbox would have closed more of a gap here outside of the United States. Obviously, the United States is still close. We know that. But outside of the United States, but Jim, through all of that, even without brand new IP, without a bunch of big, gigantic games, has kept PlayStation's lead at 2 to 3 to 1 in some areas of the world. To me, that is Jim Ryan. Now, again, you can say that's popularity. Of course, that plays into it. But Jim could have done things that, and he did a couple that kind of messed with that popularity a little bit. But he instead has done that, maintained it at the bare minimum through a pandemic and through not having a full slate of brand new IP or brand new games from all of his studios. So I do give him a little credit. Now, let me get into the things where I think we're going to look back on Jim, and Mav already brought up some of them, but I've got a couple more to add to this, where Jim will look back and probably say Jim made some poor decisions that put Sony in a bad spot. And some of these you've already probably heard if you've heard us talk about these. Number one, PSVR 2. Jim greenlit that. Okay. PSVR 2, he could have shut it down. Yes, it would have been expensive because they were probably already well into R&D and testing when Jim took over. But I've said this from a long time ago. This is my personal opinion. Again, don't run billion-dollar companies. Don't know the internal stats. Don't know goals. Don't know what they're looking at when they look at an accessory. We'll call it a peripheral, like a PSVR 2. I don't know what those numbers look like. But I will say that the position that PlayStation was in and that Jim saw that they were going to be in, transitioning to a different style as far as their business model goes, with including PC. They're also moving into mobile. They've got a mobile division now too as well that's going to be going. We've heard that they're beefing up for more cloud as well and streaming. If all that's the case, if I were Jim, PSVR 2 would have been the first thing I nixed, knowing full well that was going to draw resources, not just money and time away from the company and from those departments that could be working on other things, but also from his first party teams who also needed to make content for PSVR 2. And now we kind of see that it looks like they've maybe pulled back because we're not hearing any new announcements from first party PSVR 2 stuff. I think maybe they realized their mistake when the sales started coming out.
Hearing announcements from first party PlayStation, anything.
Yeah, anything right now, right? But I'm saying that PSVR 2 was such a huge push. I expected more.
Yeah. But
we're not hearing much. So I think PSVR 2 will be a giant mistake on his record. I also think that stuff like the PlayStation Portal, right? I think that's going to be another big mistake. I think Jim misread the market. I think that's where some of what Jim doesn't understand about the gaming market, as he is not a gamer. He looked at that device and probably thought it was pretty cool. He's got some people within the company who obviously designed it, who were all excited for it and being like, no, this is going to be great, Jim. It's going to be great. I think that maybe when they initially designed it, before Steam Deck came out, before ROG Ally came out, before all this other stuff started showing up, they thought they could grab the phone market, the people that were using their phone as their handheld market, but that whole market has now changed and is evolving as we speak, because now we got Apple out here with full-fledged AAA games like Resident Evil running on their phones. I think Jim should have looked at that a little bit harder, and I think that's going to look at as a mistake as well, another wasted moment of money, R&D, and time for PlayStation. I also think that Jim's communication, pulling back and withdrawing from the public, not him personally, but Sony as a company as a whole, and you touched on this, Mav, not showing the roadmap like they used to, not exposing their first parties, even as a teaser. Again, don't forget Hopes and Dreams. When they did the Hopes and Dreams showcase back in the day, it was nothing more than teasers for the most part.
But they got a lot of that stuff all came to fruition.
Right. And you got to believe that because Jim did greenlight a lot of first party stuff underneath him. Again, we know Cory Barlog and Sony Santa Monica, a portion of that A team started working on a brand new IP, supposedly a sci-fi game. You could have given a teaser splash trailer for that with a title. That's the stuff that Sony used to do under Jim. When they started seeing that the roadmap wasn't clear, when they saw that some of their projects, their teams were growing, some of those projects were getting pushed, they withdrew from the public spotlight. And I think that is a mistake, Mav. I think their communication levels with their fan base has been less than what it needs to be during this time. That's the one thing I could say about Xbox. Even when bad was bad, They were still out in the public talking about stuff. Again, you could say, well, that's why we got the wait till next year meme. But the fact is, we still knew as Xbox ecosystem owners where they were headed or what they were thinking. With Sony and PlayStation, we have no idea. Outside of games as a service, we have no clue what they're trying to do. So I think communication wise is another mark against Jim, and what that philosophy brought to PlayStation was a negative overall. Jim, we will judge Jim, like Mav said, years down the road. He did what he needed to do, and I think that's why he was brought in to do what he did do. I think the games as a service is a necessity for PlayStation. I know people hate to hear that, but going forward into the future, they could not survive just making their first-party AAA games, their story, single-player, narrative, third-person games. They could not survive off of those alone. They saw everything changing. They need more streams of income coming in. So the games as a service was a necessity. Jim went and made sure, because even Jim admitted it himself, something we talked about early on when we heard this new initiative from PlayStation. He knows that the majority of games as a service are not going to be successful. If he gets 2 out of that large group, and they've already canceled a couple of them, if he gets 2 out of that group, that's a win for PlayStation. That's how we're going to have to look back at that. But they need those. That's the other thing I will say here, Mav, is some of the IP, allowing Cory Barlog to go off on a new IP and not just continuously pump out God of War, shows me that he also understood they needed to diversify their lineup. And they needed to start thinking about the future where not every third party was going to be available to them to do a deal. And I think he started seeing that more and more as Xbox started gobbling up ZeniMax. I think he realized that instantaneously that, I can't fill all the game needs we have with third parties. I can't rely on that anymore. So I think that he did do that internally. Now we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what these games turn out to be. We'll have to see how they succeed or whether they fail. But I think that, again, that's why I say it's incomplete, but I do give Jim some credit for this time and point. He was handed the keys to a throne, to a king, but that kingdom was aging dramatically, and it had a lot of needs and a lot of problems that weren't necessarily clear, because the success made it easy to cover up a lot of that. But I think Jim did see some of those potholes coming up and some of those problems coming up, and I think he did what he needed to do here. Now, as far as timing goes, Matt, let me throw this back to you. As far as timing goes, what are your thoughts? Again, we won't know, and you'll never truly know the hearts of men. Again, it's a famous old saying, not anything against women, obviously. It's just an old saying. You'll never truly know. But are you leaning that this was just personal at Jim? He's only 53, Mav. That's shocking. The dude looks like he's in his 60s. That's not the slander. Like, if I just saw a picture of Jim and I didn't know who he was, and somebody said, hey, what's this dude's age? I'd say 61, 62. Dude's 53. That's 5 years older than me. Okay. Maybe this has been rough on him. Maybe he is feeling it. He talked about in an interview where he was in a state of fog a lot of the time because of how much travel he was doing.
Lights and stuff. Yeah.
I know it's interesting, and I'm all about conspiracy theories. You guys know that. All about hanging out in speculation town. Obviously, the ABK deal going through, and all of a sudden Jim's out. I think maybe, well, go ahead. I'll let you take it first, man. Where are you at? You think this was personal for Jim, that it was just time he felt it and it was time to step away? I know you said you think he saw that, what's coming and he stepped away. But realistically, if you step back, he is not stepping down, but he is getting to announce his official retirement after 30 years. Do you think some of it was just him being tired after all this time?
It's hard to say for sure. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, right? But I will say that I could look at it from the perspective of myself.
Yeah.
And what my thinking would be. Right now, I'm not him, obviously, so I can't speak for him. But based on the way I see things, I think that that's a cop out excuse to get out while
Okay.
you maybe see a rough road ahead, right?
Yep.
Because if you are tired even and you
Yeah.
see the challenge you may have before you, that could be
Yeah.
a daunting task that you feel like you don't want to take on, right?
Sure.
And so even if that's if that's the reason you're looking at it, is if it's not smooth sailing, hey, you can reap the benefits and rewards and really have great things going for the next several years and really become like what people think of as the best CEO or president of PlayStation ever. Or you could bow out when you see trouble on the horizon, or you feel like it's going to be a lot of work, and that you are kind of worried about the future right now, and you have a chance to get out while you have been riding the coattails of the previous leadership for the last 5 years, and nothing on the future is really going to be thought of as coming back on you if you get out now, right? So for me, I feel like it's hard to say. I feel like there's a lot of work to be had. Like I said, one of my criticisms was about the half steps, right?
Yes.
Now I give them credit for trying to do the PC gaming thing, trying to do, implementing more of the cloud stuff, getting into subscription gaming and all that stuff. But every single version of those has been a shitty half step aspect to what the competition is doing.
And that's where I wonder where Sony Corp comes into this, right, man?
100%. But it's his job to convince them to get that stuff going.
Understand.
Phil had to do the same damn thing to Microsoft, right?
Right.
So
correct.
That's one of the reasons why we give Phil Spencer so much credit for what he's done for Xbox, is because he had a losing battle. He was a sinking ship.
He
had a sinking ship. He had a company
1000%.
that saw Xbox as a disaster. He had all that. He had to go in there, and what he's done is convince them to not only invest and change the philosophy and change the industry and how game distribution works, but also go in and do the biggest acquisition in gaming history. While Jim goes out there and he's half-stepping, well, we're going to experiment with this. We're going to experiment. Well, we don't like gaming subscription services, but we're going to do one. People don't play old games, but we're going to kind of do back compat. People don't do this, but we're going to kind of do it, right? Like all of these things. We're going to acquire these studios. We're going to put them on ports. We're going to do all these different things, but we're like really not going to have day and date on PC for these games. We're not going to go all in because what? Because of why? Because maybe it's a headquarters. Maybe we're not ready yet or whatever. But when Xbox did PC ports, when they started to do that, like day and date, they just did it day and date, right? They went on in, and a lot of people didn't like it. It caused criticism, right? It caused criticism from a lot of creators and people out there in the community being like, we want our special exclusive games. You're putting them on PC, all this kind of stuff. You're making us feel less special. I feel like Jim was afraid of that from the PlayStation community. I feel like the PlayStation corporate may have been afraid of that as well. Instead, they could be selling more copies of these games, adding more accessibility and quality of life features that are better for consumers. Instead, it's a half step. Releasing your subscription service for the sake, I feel like more or less, just for number gains about subscriptions and trying to be able to use those numbers to your benefit and hopefully rework it, because your past subscription service was bleeding subscribers. So you rephrased it, but you really didn't add anything to the initial tier, the bottom tier, right? And then on that, you also have a way inferior service as it comes to value based on day and date games and what's actually saving consumers money on the PlayStation subscription service versus Game Pass. And there's still games that have come out like almost a year ago now that are still not in their service yet. And it's like, what's going on there? Why do they all of a sudden increase the price now again on PlayStation Plus without adding any value into it? All these different aspects to it. Come out and say things like all publishers hate Game Pass and other bold-faced lies. Like he said that last year in an interview. Now you could say big publishers like Strauss Zelnick and Bobby Kotick and
absolutely 1000%.
Yeah, that's fine. But to come out as a blanket statement and say all publishers is like just a flat out bold-faced lie. There's a couple publishers that have their own gaming subscription services where they put their games in day and date as well, right? Coming out and doing all these things, I feel like half step. games and IPs resting on the laurels of the people that kicked off all of those through your tenure there. A lot of the sequels that we got in Jim Ryan's tenure could have been new IPs, new games, new franchises, other exciting things, right? I understand the reason they didn't, obviously, is because they had a PS5 to launch and they needed to make sure that they had a pipeline of content in the first year or two for that console to make sure they sell to the consumers. And they filled in the gaps with remasters, with ports, with definitive editions, remakes, and all that stuff, cash grab type things. And again, I haven't seen one big new IP exciting thing right now that's been announced that has me excited that it has kicked off into the Jim Ryan era. The only one I could say, if it's not a new IP, and point to is Wolverine, right? I give him credit for all the acquisitions that he's done. I think there's a great acquisitions there, but those have to be focused and put forward towards the goals of what is going to benefit the consumers. And I see a lot of the acquisitions they made that we talked about it before were for like cloud this or like port games this service. And games of service stuff, getting the infrastructure in place and all that. Where is your PC app? Where is that? Where is the stuff that has been rumored to be in works for years now? And it's like, now we're just going to half step and do this half step. Meanwhile, releasing bullshit products like the PlayStation controller thingy they just came out with, the PSVR 2, all these other things that are way too expensive and not consumer friendly, in my opinion, at the end of the day. I feel like a lot of decisions have been bad that's setting up PlayStation potentially for a rocky road in the future. And to get back to the original point, are you tired, Jim, from flying to Japan and all this stuff? And the old comment, I get that. He does look old. But I've seen interviews from him like 15 years ago as well. He looked old as shit back then too. The guy's just got one of those faces. He looks like he's had a rough life in the streets of whatever. I know.
He's younger than Phil. It's crazy.
He's been written hard and put away wet too many times.
Jesus, fucking pause. God,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I get it. He looks exhausted. He looks tired and all that stuff. He has a shitty. He has a shitty demeanor. He doesn't come across as passionate about video games. All of these different things. He comes across about being passionate for business, which I appreciate as well. Yes. Being passionate for the brand and all that stuff. I appreciate that as well. Right. Yeah. But I want to know what the legacy is. And right now, for some reason, they had opportunities. They had opportunities to show us this roadmap, to have that 2016. It's been 7 years since that 2016 show. They got away from doing big showcases. They got away from doing all these things. They've had great state of play in the past. But where is that pipeline now? I want to see it. I want things to get excited. Now, resting on the laurels of the previous leadership of releasing all these sequels and remasters and all these things has been great for pipeline and stuff, but it hasn't been exciting for me, right? So when I'm judging this, I'm looking at it from a me perspective.
I get where you're coming from.
As a consumer, I have been less interested in playing PlayStation games under his tenure than I ever since PlayStation has existed. Right. And that is a personal thing, maybe, because I don't I'm not super into some of the franchises that they've been milking, right? But I want those other exciting moments and other things, right? And they're just not there for me right now. And I when I look at it, I'm like, what did you do for me as a consumer, Jim? You gave me except for Wolverine, you really gave me nothing to be excited for the future of PlayStation. Why am I excited for Concord, for Fair Games? Why am I excited for your PC games when we don't even know when they're coming out and what kind of shape they're going to be in? And why aren't you doing day and date? Why aren't you doing stuff that your competitors are doing, like cross-buy and all this kind of stuff? They can't afford it.
They can't afford it.
They can't because they would sell more copies. Like
they don't have the other streams, man. That's the problem. Like they're playing that. And again, I'm agreeing with you, right? As far as the excitement part, as far as the road, again, the communication part of it is a big L for me from Jim Ryan's tenure here. It's something that changed philosophy wise, obviously underneath his leadership. And I disagree with it.
Yeah.
So I agree on all that. But the point of fact is that that's the thing that we were talking about the entire for the past 3 years since I've been podcasting with you, Matt. We've talked about it time and time again, why we were excited where Xbox was going, Phil's vision, Satya behind him, all that kind of stuff. Because Xbox for the future already had advantages over PlayStation as far as the types of games that they were known for. Because we saw the future, right? Xbox was already set up with games as a service. They were already set up with those multiplayer games. They had already kind of bred that into the community, the Xbox community and ecosystem. It was known as the place to go to outside of your Call of Duties and stuff, obviously. But with your Gears, with your Halo, with all this first party stuff, your Forzas, your Forza Horizons, that multiplayer, that online experience, that the whole games as a service was already pre-built. Sea of Thieves, right? We got Grounded. We got all this stuff that PlayStation doesn't have in any way, shape, or form unless they go buy it from a third party.
Right.
And I think that that's what Jim took over. And we also knew, Mav, that the big studios, the big first parties, the Naughty Dogs, right? The Gorillas, all those kinds of studios were eventually going to run out of bullets. And they did. And that's where we're at. And that's where I agree with you, Mav. If I was Jim, if you were Jim, I'd be selling hopes and dreams again. I'd be telling my fan base, yes, it's not pretty right now. We gave you all this stuff for the past 5 years. Everybody's reloading now. We're growing. We're expanding. We're doing all this stuff. We've got some new experiences coming for you. We want to show you what to be excited for. And that's where I said the teasers, the splash screens, just give the fan base something, like you're saying, some type of roadmap to say, yep, you remember 2017? Well, here we are again, 2023. We're giving you that hopes and dreams. It's coming, right? And we're going to get you excited about what everybody's working on behind the scenes. So I think that is a missed opportunity. I just think that we kind of knew this is a spot they were going to be in.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much, Jim could do about it because, like you said before, all that stuff was pipelined prior to his leadership. So that was done. Everybody's reloading. That's kind of where he was at during this time frame. So. Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting, staying on top though. And also, he just like Xbox, they had to go through the COVID stuff and everything.
Yes, absolutely.
They did a better job of that.
A better job, because their games were further along.
They did more of the third-party exclusivity deals and all those kind of things under his tenure as well. Which whatever, it is what it is, right? For me, it's not. I don't love it, but at the same time, I don't blame PlayStation for trying to do that, right? I feel like it's smart business on their part. It could have helped if Xbox had done the same thing with the lack of games in 2022, right?
Right. Absolutely. So, we saw the emails now. Phil said it. We need to do something about this, right? That's where those pricing for those, games came into play, right?
Right.
Because he was in those emails going, "This is terrible, guys. We got nothing for our consumers. We need to do something about
speculation
this."
Then because of all the delays, they got it.
Hell
We're
yeah!
Gonna spend money on something. We're gonna get something.
Once again, our speculation was point on, bro. Behind the scenes, they were trying that. Yeah. They knew. Phil knew. It's crazy how many things we've speculated about that have turned out to be real. With this trial,
the games that were on that list too, bro. That they were targeting.
Of course,
people would have said they would never go after those kind of games, right?
Right. Yep.
They were there. They were a thought. They were trying to see if they could get some of these things. And it's funny to see that kind of stuff, right?
Right. It is.
To the credit, he's done an okay job. I feel like the hardware size, sales wise, or hardware, and the promotion of their brand and their image. He's done a great job keeping that going right, and trying to sell the premium experience and all that kind of shit that people eat up. That's horse shit at the end of the day. Is what it is. But it's good salesmanship, and he's done a fantastic job taking shots at Xbox and the competition to bolster the image of yourselves. He's done a fantastic job with all that, and whether we don't like it or not, you can give him credit for the salesmanship of it and putting the brand in the position and keeping the brand in the position that it was in. So when I judge the legacy, though, I don't judge it based on hardware sales. I don't judge it based on marketing. I judge it based on as far as what are we getting as
Yes.
consumers in the future, and under his legacy about the decisions that were made for the infrastructure of the ecosystem. And I feel like I have a lot more questions about it right now
Yeah.
than I did when he took over about the quality of where things are headed.
If I looked at it purely from a gamer standpoint, right from the outside, everybody here knows. Again, this is the first time I'm considering since PlayStation started with PS1. This will be the first generation I can see myself going without ever picking up a PlayStation 5.
And why? What is it about it that makes you feel that way? Is it because the lack of excitement about the games?
Because I have so much on Xbox. Again, the gaming PC does help, right? Because now that they're in the PC market, anything I do want, I can buy there,
even if you have to wait. Right?
But I have Xbox has done such a fantastic job on getting the games that I want to play, that I have so much to play on Xbox that I honestly, the one or two, Sony's now in the position for me personally, like Nintendo is. Nintendo has a couple franchises I would love to play, but they're not enough for me to go buy a console.
Yeah.
It's not enough for me because I look at my gaming catalog and go, am I going to play that game over anything, or am I going to play that game from PlayStation over these 5 games or 10 games that I want to play on Xbox right now? And 90%, 95% of the time it's a no. So for me right now, it just isn't a necessity at all. And like I said, now with the PC, yeah, I'll just wait because I don't have a problem waiting. I don't have FOMO like that. I don't need to go play the latest and greatest from Sony. And until they fix their diversity lineup, till they start bringing back beloved franchises or making new franchises that do appeal to me, I don't need a PlayStation 5 right now. It's the first generation that I can say that. Again, I've owned both. I've owned one first and the second later, but I've owned both every single generation. And this is the first one. There's some great points that Mav. I hope you got the super chats because I can't get them anymore on my side. There was a couple super chats in there. Hopefully you can grab them that we missed. One point that neither one of us brought up, and I thought it was a great point. And Sappho, if you're still listening, it was a great point, and it is a point that we've obviously talked about plenty on this show and all of our shows. But at the end of the day, part of Jim's legacy as well is that Sony is protected a lot of ways by the media. And to all the points that you made, Mav, about what Jim said and what was actually happening, a lot of that was covered up or never covered by the media at all.
Yeah, they didn't discuss
and that
it.
is,
yeah, that's a media,
and that's a huge advantage for Sony.
Or championed, like actually ignoring to like actually
correct.
Oh, look at what Jim said. All these things. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, this is great for consumers. This is great for gamers, right?
Yep.
All this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, like that's not what's actually happening.
And then, and the minute that Phil says anything, it's all the opposite from the media.
Yeah,
right. The minute that Xbox is out here saying something and they find out, again, all you have to do is watch the coverage of the ABK deal to see that time and time again. Sony's faults would be shown and there'd be a little buzz media, most of it just ignored or whatever, covered up or whatever. The minute the Xbox faults came out, oh my, Xbox is buying up the entire industry. Yeah. They're exactly who we thought they were, right? That's the kind of response you get in Sappho. It was a great point because that is an advantage for Jim. That is an advantage for PlayStation overall to have that favorable coverage from the wider media. Absolutely. It was a great point. Do you have those super chats?
Yeah, I do. And to that point also, the only thing that Xbox can do to overcome that is be so blatantly amazing, and that at some point that media will look weird to the casual audience for saying the things that they do, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Like once it becomes to that point where it's like they're not in step with what's going on to even the mass audiences and stuff like that, then like that's when they'll start to flip and be like, okay, like it's so obvious and blatant how all these games, they're good, like all these things. But they're going to keep trying to diminish and sabotage as long as they can because it's good for their clicks. Until it's better for their clicks the opposite way, that's when it'll switch. right?
Yep, absolutely. Shout out to Noof, shout out to Decado, shout out to Gogo Poe jumping in here, shout out to Sin. I see you guys all jumping in here. Brothers, what's good? Damn good 75. I see you in here. We've got almost nearly 200 people in here. Thank you all for joining me and Mav tonight. If you haven't hit that like button, please do so. It does help. Again, we don't do the business stuff very often. Jesse B, I see you up in here. Calorie, I see you jumping in here. What's going on? I appreciate all of you jumping in here whenever you can. Micah Ford, I see you. Alex is a Valve. Man, some of the OGs up in here. But yeah, you got those super chats.
Yes, I do, sir. Andrew Reeves with the $5.
Ooh, Andrew
says Jim Ryan is that kid in the group project that didn't do anything but takes the credit. No, he's the Steve Kerr of gaming CEOs.
Where was Chris Jones?
Where's Chris?
Unit?
Chris Jones is going to take exception to that one.
Yeah,
right?
Steve Kerr better than Jordan. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, no, he said he was better than Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, better than Steph Curry. Yeah.
That's some high praise for Steve.
See
Kerr.
you there.
I'll give Steve Kerr credit for hitting some game winners and stuff.
Big time.
Right?
Yep,
and
he was
fantastic coach. Also, anyway,
yes,
Alvin with the 5. Appreciate you. Alvin says the Jim was handed the keys to a fully armed and operational Death Star. Bill was handed a fire extinguisher, was told to save the house that's on fire.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, Sony PlayStation is definitely the Goliath, right? I mean, they are, and Phil and Jim got to run it from that position out the gate. Again, like I said, I think it was aging, and I think there was a lot of problems that weren't noticeable because of how successful they were. But behind the scenes, I know Jim saw the leaks. I know Jim saw the rust. I know Jim saw kind of what was coming if he had all took Xbox and Microsoft seriously. If he saw that Godzilla waking up to their Goliath, that he had to realize that this wasn't going to be an easy fight, and he had to make some moves. And I think that's what he did do. Now, again, to the extent that Sony Corp was all in hands in on this, that's where what we don't know. Again, that's what's not visible like it is over on Microsoft and Xbox side. And I think that what I will say here, and I'll make this point quick so we can move on to, as far as his retirement goes, I think as a combination platter of a lot of what you said, Mav, and I think that he was fighting in a lot of ways an uphill battle with Sony Corp to change their ways, because I think that their situation and how they, again, there's a lot of different business stereotypes that happen in the East, and some of it's still true, right? A lot of that was created in the 80s. But there's still some mentality. We've seen that Square Enix, we've seen shades of it there. And I still think Sony Corp has some of it. Sony Corp doesn't see things the same way that necessarily that Microsoft and Xbox do, or even Nintendo does. And I think for them, it's a bigger ship to turn around. Even though Phil took over a sinking ship, once he got Satya on board, they had the money and the resources to quickly bail out that ship and make a 180 and go in a completely different direction. I don't think Sony Corp was ready to do that. So I think Jim has probably fought a lot of internal battles as well, trying to make the changes that he believes are necessary. And again, Mav, if his final decision was not to do the day and date, then yeah, that's on him. That's his responsibility. I still think they couldn't afford it at this moment. I said from the beginning, a long time ago, when we started talking about this stuff, 3 to 6 months, I think you get those initial sales from your Sony diehards, which are in the millions, that have to play those games day one. But I think offering those 3 to 6 months later would have been a huge boon for that subscription service for the average player. And I would have made that move instantaneously without seeing any of the numbers. But I think this is a combo platter. I think Jim is feeling old. I think Jim probably is worn down. I think he also may see the fact that he could not potentially do some of the things that he felt necessary fast enough. And he sees Microsoft looming over his shoulder. And let's be real too, Sony Corp side, they could be upset and unhappy with Jim. And there could have been some friction there. Again, this is all speculation, but Sony Corp themselves have watched their stock price fall. And again, PlayStation is a major major part of that stock price. And they've showed a decline in game sales also underneath Jim. We got that word, not the PlayStation 5. The console keeps selling.
Never
but
seen
total
that
games, right? Total game sales are dropping.
Hardware keeps going up and up,
Yep.
like over projections and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, you're still with the hardware increasing, actually losing users and going lower on services and
game revenue, software revenue. Yes, absolutely.
It's so
and I
strange,
think,
man.
I think there might have been some conversations with Jim about
that. That was with big releases.
Yes, absolutely. And that's with all those re-releases on top of it, right? That are supposedly huge hits, right? That's where I think that there could have been some friction. I think that Sony Corp could see that maybe they lost faith in what Jim was doing. I don't know. Like, that's a story we probably never will hear, right? We won't get the behind the scenes documentary like we did for Xbox, which was incredible. We'll never get that about PlayStation. I don't see that ever happening. 99% sure, because again, we don't deal in absolutes. But I think that there could have been some friction there. I think Sony Corp might have wanted to go in a different direction. Now, that's the next topic here, Mav. I know we've been talking about this a long time, but this is a big topic. This is a big moment in the gaming industry. Is if we haven't had enough, as we're on the absolute precipice of the biggest deal in entertainment history with the ABK deal, and now we have the head of PlayStation, one of the biggest game publishers, console makers in the entire world. We have the head just stepping away out of the blue and retiring. Like, if we haven't had enough already, but the future, man, the direction, who ultimately becomes Jim's successor will tell us a ton about maybe what happened behind the scenes. In the meantime, we get a gentleman. What's his last? I said it multiple times, but I can never remember. Takori, whatever.
I gotta look.
The guy who's taking over, the CFO of Sony Corp, who is taking over for Jim, is on public record, Mav, as saying mobile is better than console.
Yeah.
Now, he's only taking over on an interim basis. That doesn't mean he can't take over full time if Sony Corp wants to go in that direction. Again, the big thing for me, and I said it in the DMs, Mav, and I want to get your thoughts here on the future of PlayStation and potential candidates, if you've got any in your head about who could take over for Jim. But in the short term, what we do know is they're going to have a Sony Corp guy as the head of PlayStation. That means Sony Corp, the board, is going to have a lot more influence than they did having Jim running it as the head of PlayStation. That in itself is going to be an interesting time, depending on how long they keep this guy as the interim, because decisions still have to be made. Now, long-term philosophy, that won't happen until you make an official announcement for a new head. But the fact is, short-term, they still have decisions to make. They still have potential acquisitions that they are going to have to consider out there, man. They can't stop while Microsoft gets done with ABK and fires up acquisition season all over again. They don't have time to push pause. They've got to make decisions on top of launching some games as a service, on top of trying to figure out their roadmap. There's a lot going on without having an official, this is our dude, or this is our gal, whoever the heck it is. What are your thoughts on the future of PlayStation, short-term and long-term, Math?
Yeah, so the first off, the guy's name is Hiroki Totoki.
Totoki, thank you. Yes, Apple just put it in there, Totoki. I said it multiple times when I was reading, and I can never remember it. So anyways, thank you all. Hiroki Totoki.
And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who takes charge. If it's going to be him, I'm curious about about the direction that he wants to take it in with his mobile gaming comments. I mean, granted, also, like, there's been emails leaked about Microsoft talking about mobile is like huge and all that kind of stuff.
They've been public about it too, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the reason for the ABK is king. Right. So yeah.
So there's different aspects to all of this, like obviously the mobile gaming market is booming like crazy, like in like none other. So obviously these companies are going to want to chase where the money's at, right? They're worried about Apple and all these kind of things too, getting more invested into gaming and all this kind of stuff, right? But ultimately, like, I just want them to get on board. Whoever takes charge, I just want them to get on board, get more of the quality of life services, right? Like I want more value towards the consumer. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking from a consumer perspective, right? That's just what I want. Like,
no, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
And
nope.
I want the creativity and the to be really put to the forefront from the developers, investments on the projects and stuff like that, right? Like, I mean, I think that's what we all want as gamers, right? I feel like we want the developers to be unleashed. We want quality of life and value, right? We want a variety of experiences. At least that's what I want, right? I don't want the same thing over and over and over again, right? I don't want all my games to have the similar feel or trend about them, right? From the lineup. And I want there to be a somebody that takes charge, that is like, make what you want to make. We're going to support it, and we're going to fully invest in it and make it the best damn version of what you can make as possible. Plus, we're also going to put it in as many places as possible, and we're also going to have quality of life features behind all of these products for a unified ecosystem, right? That's what I hope for the future of PlayStation as a consumer. And I feel like that's what most people should say they would want, right? Is great games, great value, and great ecosystem. And the question is, who can bring that, right? Who has the vision to transform the model that they've been kind of stuck in for a while into something that's more consumer, like quality of life focused, meanwhile still embracing the creativity of the developers, right? And I don't know who it could be. Like, I mean, maybe you could say like a Peter Molyneux, right? Like, I also, like, I gotta say, like, as
Peter Molyneux,
not Peter Molyneux, Peter Moore. Fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jesus.
Not Peter Molyneux. Sorry. No,
yes, let's put Molyneux in charge of PlayStation. That'd be crazy.
To me on Twitter, so
I love Molyneux. Yeah, I love Molyneux.
Peter Moore. I mean, but I don't think he would be. I don't think he'd want to do it anyway. But
Bobby Kotick.
No, definitely not.
Donnie D, Phil Harrison.
Yeah, Phil Harrison. Let's go.
Phil Harrison and Donnie D combo. Let's go.
Oh, that'd be so exciting to watch the showcases with them on stage. So I also, I gotta say, like, I want a cutthroat guy.
Yeah.
As much as like I'm talking about quality of life and all that stuff, I want the cutthroat approach to make the you know, we're all talking about building a moat and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
To be so consumer focused that it is to a cutthroat approach, right? To try and make PlayStation the best value for consumers that's going to defeat the competition, right? I want that to be a focus for them, as opposed to cash grabbing the consumers as the value proposition, right? I want that to be the focus, and I want to be such a hardcore, like, I want the developers to start releasing a variety of games like they did back in the day with like all these different kinds of projects and all this kind of stuff. I'm sick of the samey shit, right? I am. I'm just getting burned out on it. Like, how many times can we play the same shit? Like, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. It's like, I don't get excited for it. So that's what I want. Who could do it? I don't fucking. It's gonna be somebody I probably never heard of. I mean, like, I don't know who, like, it could be. Pong. You're on mute, by the way.
I don't know why it does that. Anyways, yeah, neither. I mean, I like I said, that to me right now is the most interesting aspect, and I think for a lot of people it is because, again, if they bring in another suit, if they bring in another numbers guy, a business guy like Jim, well, then you probably know that it wasn't necessarily friction or it wasn't a different philosophy, that Jim just got tired and he decided it was time to leave after 30 years, because that means probably Sony Corp kind of wants kind of the same decision making that was happening. I hope, like you, Mav, that they bring in somebody competitive. I hope that they do bring in somebody who is more of a gamer. Obviously, he doesn't necessarily have to be Phil, because again, Peter Moore, again, shout out to Iron Lords yet again. They had part 2 of the interview. And if you haven't watched both Peter Moore interviews, if you want to talk about the history of gaming, go listen to that. The dude is a GOAT, one of my favorite all-time CEOs. Actually, probably still is above Phil a little bit in terms of my own personal like for somebody in that position. But Peter Moore came with no background in video games. Right? But what he did was have a passion for the video game industry and learned.
Yeah.
And realize
shoes, bro.
Yes, bro. He came consumer first, still, right? Obviously, consumer perspective. But when he jumped into the games industry and started leading gaming companies, he didn't go, oh, I'm just going to be the dude who knows my specialty. No. He jumped in and learned what the gamers liked and what they loved. And yes, he was a salesman through and through, and it showed on stage. The dude was it still is one of the most charismatic guys you can ever meet. But he learned what the community was about. Again, he talks about on Iron Lords. He likes the console war stuff. Yeah. Right? He knew what that was when he got on stage and showed off the Grand Theft Auto tattoo. He knew what that would do for the gaming community. That's what I want Sony to bring in, is a dude with that kind of passion and that kind. And again, it's no slighting as Jim. Jim made it for 30 years at one company in a cutthroat industry that's very hard to do so with a personality of a Warren Penny.
Yeah.
Okay, like at least to us publicly. Like,
look to our great franchises of these games that are coming out soon.
Enough from me.
And if you're excited for another version of The Last of Us Part 1, again, you're going to love this trailer. Thank you all for being here. And we have one more thing. It's a horrible controller that does nothing. Like that's the Jim energy.
No,
it's like
I've seen the old games, and I don't know why people would ever want to play them.
Yeah, I don't understand how anybody
that's like totally
plays video games.
That's one of his worst quotes of all time. Like that's again, that means you don't understand your base at all. Like, I don't care what your hardcore base is like. That means you don't understand gamers at all. Right. And that to me is the biggest downfall of Jim. But yeah, I'm excited. And I do want somebody to come in. I want somebody to keep the pressure on, but bring a different perspective, potentially bring some fire to that position and make some moves. Like you said, Mav, push for PC day and date on the first party stuff for sure. Even if you're not going to do the subscription stuff, push for PC day and date, day one, right? Get those games out, make some changes behind the scenes. Like, don't make people pay for their cloud saves anymore, right? Stuff like that is consumer friendly. That's what I want to see from the next head of PlayStation. It'll be interesting to see what Sony Corp does here, because Sony Corp doesn't have that same mentality all the damn time, right? So I think PlayStation's fine. PlayStation continues again in some areas of the world 2 to 3 to 1 over Xbox. They're fine. They can get through the slow period, but they do have to bring somebody in who's going to infuse the company, infuse the brand with more energy than Jim did. That's my own personal gamer perspective on this. I can't wait to see it.
Somebody that's freaking got like a fire, you know what I mean? Like, I want to see that, and I want it to permeate through the community instead of using the kind of tactics that they've used for marketing. Instead, I want it to be about the passion of the games, right?
Yeah.
And
you know, I agree wholeheartedly
about being able to prop up and sell the ecosystem for how amazing value and quality of stuff that you have coming. And I feel like they had that. The PS4 era was was that I feel like it has studied into this stale state right now that's like gotten samey, boring, not a lot of new innovation and things within gaming, and it's like, okay, like I'm sorry, I don't want to buy The Last of Us Part 1 5 times. It's like
I know. This is so tough, man, because I want Sony to embrace the future. I want PlayStation to embrace the future.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying they have to copy Xbox one for one. I'm not that dude. Just like I've never been the dude like Xbox needs to copy PlayStation one for one. No. That's not what this is about. But I want them to embrace where the industry is going, even if it's not the same vision as Xbox. Right now, I've said this before. Another reason why I don't see myself buying a PlayStation this generation is because I feel like the decisions they made in as far as the consumer stuff, as far as this, as you called it, Mav, half stepping a lot of decisions to where they need to get to with their lack of diversity of their first party lineup. I feel like they're kind of holding back because they're holding back the industry in a lot of ways because they don't want to let go of the old business model because that's what they've known for so damn long. And they've been so highly successful at it. And again, I don't blame them per se, but I feel like right now, a lot of decisions have held back the industry because as the market leader, quote unquote, again, outside of Nintendo, as the market leader in the high performance console market, their decisions affect the rest of the industry, whether we like it or not. And I want them to embrace that future and push the industry forward into the digital age, because that's where we're headed no matter what. And again, I'm sorry, physical people. I still have a lot of physical myself. I get it. I'm a nostalgia guy. I like my physical. Don't get me wrong. But the reality is it's going away. Okay. It just is. Whether you fight it all the way tooth and nail, that's the last hill you die on. That hill's going to be gone at some point. I want PlayStation to embrace more of that and move the industry forward with Xbox. Like I said, they don't have to copy one for one. Just keep it moving forward. Yeah. And right now, I just don't think they are.
And I gotta say, like, even if the like quality of life stuff we keep talking about, all these other things don't happen, right? Whatever. Even if they just like, okay, we're just gonna do $70 games only on console, and that's our model. That's fine, right? That's fine. I will still be behind it as long as it's exciting. And the number one thing, the biggest reason I barely touch my PlayStation, ever since it came out, like ever since this generation started, is because it has gotten fucking boring.
Yeah.
That
that's okay.
From a personal perspective of taste, for me, PlayStation has gotten boring. As a company, they have gotten boring with the repetitive products they've been putting out, and I am sick of it. I really honestly don't get excited for hardly any fucking thing PlayStation. I try to. I really do. I've owned PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, multiple of all of those. PS4 Pro, PS5s. I've sold 2 PS5s and rebought it because I want to get back into try and get excited for the damn ecosystem and the games, but I get fucking bored. There's nothing exciting me right now about PlayStation. Fuck Foam Stars, Splatoon, rip off. If I want to play that, I'll go play it on fucking Nintendo, right? They got the squid ink and shit over there. I don't need fucking foam bubble guns to squirt people with and call it a good fucking time. That shit does not excite me. I want, like, Rise of the Ronin. That kind of excited me. I haven't seen it this year at all, right? Where is it, right? I want to see that game again. I'm just not excited. I'm not excited. I want to be excited. PlayStation used to have those games that really
Twisted Metal, SOCOM. Let's go down the list, bro. Sly Cooper, for God's sakes. I mean, everything. Like, they have so many Siphon Filter. They have so much history and so much good IP.
It's fucking boring. It's a boring ecosystem of first-party games. It's boring. To me, right? I understand.
To you, and that's okay. And our tastes can change too.
Yeah.
I admit my tastes have changed as I've gotten older as well.
Yeah, I get it if you're like a lonely like individual that just likes to sit by yourself and play depressing ass shit all the time. I get it. You know, like there's a lot of people like that, right? I understand. And there's like a lot of people that love all different kinds of games, right? Like I personally don't like to sit there and play depressing shit all the time. I just don't. It doesn't do anything for me. It's a lot of the shit's just depressing, slow, and boring, and I don't get up for it. I just don't. I don't care about a lot of the games because they have transitioned into this model of all these samey games, and that's cool, right? I appreciate a good story, but shit, once I played it once, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't need to do it again and again and again and again. Like if I want to watch a depressing movie, I'll fucking watch a depressing movie. Like I don't need to. I don't want that to be my gaming, you know, like I want to get lost. Like I want to get immersed. I want to have all these experiences and variety of things and the ecosystem. And for me right now, it's like, this has been the worst generation for PlayStation ever. This has been the worst generation for me as a consumer ever because it's gotten stale and boring and lame. I want excitement. I want whoever takes over to have that fucking fire and passion to reignite PlayStation and to be like fucking amazing.
Yep. What just happened? We talked about Starfield for the first hour. So if you just got here, what just happened, you can go back and listen to me and Mav. We started our intros and both talked about Starfield, and it wound up into an hour conversation basically about Starfield. So yeah, we did talk about Starfield. Dark Zone, yes, we did hear about the epic layoffs. We are probably going to get to that here shortly. And then also, Mav, I did drop, and I saw who gave us a super chat. Oh, Tom from Toonami with the $2. What up, Tom? Says y'all see that the KOTOR trailer has been made private. Yes, and I popped those into the DMs. That's what Laker fan obviously was seeing. I had not seen it pop up on Twitter, but while Mav was talking, I was back on Twitter and I did see him, and I popped him into our DMs. So we will probably talk about that because that's interesting. And I did have something to say when Laker fan brought it up earlier. So shout out to all of you. Great conversations in there. I see everybody dropping in here. Appreciate you all so much. And there's a lot, Mav, and you're not wrong for what you're saying. And it's a lot of the same feelings I've had. And this is somebody who has been just like yourself. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PSP, PS Vita, and of course, PlayStation TV. I have owned PlayStation. I've been a big fan of PlayStation. I bought PlayStations before I bought other consoles in the beginning of a new generation. Again, everybody likes to say fake neutral. I'm as close to a neutral as you could ever get because I make decisions based upon my own personal feelings about what console I'm going to buy first and what I buy second and whether or not I invest in one. Again, haven't owned personally a Nintendo since the Super Nintendo because they don't have anything for me. They have a couple franchises I really want to play, but that overall they don't have enough to make me go buy a Nintendo. So for me, I'm in the same boat as Mav. I want that old PlayStation. And again, I understand the industry has changed. I understand that games cost more now than ever before. They are giant risks, but you still got to take some. You see Xbox taking risks. You see Grounded. You see Sea of Thieves. You see them bringing out Age of Empires to console. Like you see them moving to make their library diverse with all types of different genres, even genres that are considered niche. PlayStation used to do that. That's why I used to love PlayStation, because as somebody who likes a lot of different styles of games, that's what I used to find on PlayStation. Not so much anymore. And that's a problem for me. And I want somebody to come back. Again, I understand they can't go back necessarily to the old days, but they do have some franchises that if they're not in the works of being revived, they need to be in the works of being revived, because there is some ways that they could diversify their own lineup through their own properties at the end of the day. to keep it first party. But there are glimpses, Mav. Somebody brought up Helldivers 2 in the chat. That is one that me and Mav both will be getting on PC, and we'll be playing the hell out of. I'm excited for Helldiver. I played the first Helldivers. I love the changes. We are excited for that. I see glimpses. And if any of these games as a service do hit me, that's great. That's fantastic. That's awesome for PlayStation. But I want some of the other stuff to come back to. And I want them to try new things. I understand that their fan base, their hardcore fan base, has been kind of brainwashed into thinking that the third person narrative single player experiences are the premium experience. That's Sony's own fault for doing that. It made them extremely successful, but I think I want them to break away from that. And I think they're trying to, but they've got to go full in, not half step like Mav said. That's where I'm at with Sony right now. So great conversation. Shout out to a bunch of people jumping in here. Thank you all for joining us. I saw, who was it that jumped in here as well and had a nice compliment, jumped in here. It was, where'd it go now? God, you guys are talking so much. God, I love you all. See Money. I see you, brother, jumping in here. That was a great episode you had with him and his wife too, Mav. It was awesome.
Thanks.
It was
they're gonna be on Xbox Ultimate tomorrow.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Him and Doodle?
Yeah.
Doodle's gonna be.
Yep.
Doodle, I see you in here too. You guys run a great podcast, by the way. I lurk I lurk when I can because I'm at work. Usually when you guys are on, I try to catch your episodes. I obviously caught Mav's episode. It was amazing. I love your questions, your what do they call it at the end where they quick fire questions at you.
We're not going to talk about that fucking segment,
but
man.
Bro, awesome segment though, man. I was dying. Like you trying to beat King was awesome. I loved it. So no, shout out to both of you for jumping in here.
I watched it back and I'm like, how did I lose? I don't understand. I was so fast.
Yep. Sorry, Ponsol. PS is looking spooky right now. Yeah, I mean they've got some work to do. There's no doubt about it. I know we've been talking about this for a long time. Again, the Sony fans have turned a blind eye to a lot of stuff. But we've tried to take it from the. I don't hate PlayStation. I'm not the Xbot out here, okay, in any way, shape, or form. I happen to be heavily invested in Xbox this time, but that doesn't mean I'm an Xbot. I want PlayStation to be successful. I want the competition, but I want them to bring back the old, at least parts of it, where they made different games. Yeah. That's what I want from them because a lot of their games don't appeal to me.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the next generation, right? Between like our choices and as consumers and stuff like that and what we,
Shaq Rocket jumped in here earlier, Mav, real quick and said, love listening to you guys. Whenever I want to hear folks tell it like it is, this is the place to go. Appreciate you. Again, that's a huge compliment. That's what Mav and I are about. Yeah. That's what all of our shows are about.
We may not be right, but for me, it's always about,
but we do get a lot right too.
Yeah, we do. Saying what I feel and just speaking our thoughts and that's what it's all about, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Mav, let's jump to this breaking news here real quick. Let's just do this.
So the KOTOR,
KOTOR.
Yeah. That's just canceled. That's canned. It's private.
So
it's gone.
Yeah. Shout out to a bunch of people talking about it. Yeah.
Sometimes they don't private stuff even if it's been canceled. Maybe somebody else got the rights to make the game. And they don't want any consumer confusion out there. There's going to be a new announcement of a KOTOR.
Could be sold off. It could be.
Yeah. Embracer Group's been trying to sell shit. Maybe they were like, okay, we're going to do this deal. And somebody else is going to take over development.
Here's the deal real quick. I said it before. If you guys weren't here when Lakers fan brought this up and I made my quick point about it again, Phil, Xbox, whoever's listening. Yeah. And we know we've got Xbox people who do listen to the Fun Speculation Network. We know a couple different studios that do listen to some of these shows from time to time. Even though we're small, there's some people who like to listen to the smaller channels too. Anybody out there, if KOTOR, the IP, becomes available, don't make the second mistake. Or I should say, don't make the mistake a second time around and miss out on getting the rights. Yeah. Call up Lucas. Tell them that Obsidian will do this. I know Obsidian had originally made a pitch to Lucas for KOTOR when they first started shopping. That was prior to Xbox acquiring them. Put your eggs in this basket. Go get KOTOR. This will be gigantic. and whoever it is that's taking over this franchise, please do it right. We heard some smoke that potentially there was some influence from Sony, from PlayStation on how KOTOR was being remade. If any of that was true, keep that out of the room, whatever you do. Go make KOTOR and treat it with the respect it deserves. Knights of the Old Republic is one of my all-time favorite franchises, one of my all-time favorite RPGs, my all-time favorite Star Wars game. Do this right, and you will be beloved by millions of people, and millions of people will buy this game. Flat out. Please, please hear me out. This is weird news right now, Mav. This is weird. I don't want to see this happen. Like, this is not what I wanted.
More layoffs, maybe at Saber now,
maybe. Like, that's what I'm saying. Because again, it was in flux. I mean, we knew Saber had gotten it. It's disappointing, to say the least. I was really excited. I was disappointed that Sony had gotten exclusivity for any period of time, but I was hoping that it would still come to PC, obviously, and I would have an opportunity to play it. So I was happy that KOTOR was being remade. I was not happy about the smoke behind the scenes. But this right here scares the hell out of me, because I knew this with Embracer obviously failing it again. I was on here. I was wrong about Lars.
Yeah.
I still think his vision was correct, and I still love the man for what he was trying to do.
You did say they got to be careful. You did say that.
But I did say that, and I did say we will learn a lot when failure comes, how they react. And I did mention that, but I will take my L, because I did say Embracer was doing good things out here. But obviously, again, I didn't know Lars was betting his company on a $2 billion handshake from the Saudis. I did not know that. Okay. That's not how I would bet my business, but he was, now that we know, and it's now costing a lot of people jobs, and a lot of games are going to go away that were being made. So it sucks, but I want KOTOR remake to be a reality. I really do. God, that game needs to live, man. It needs to live, brother.
Yeah. I'm hoping somebody, like, I don't know if you caught FSP, and maybe we talked about this on Xbox Ultimate last week too, about, Embracer Group, Microsoft maybe needs to, like, offer them like a bag of cash and take advantage of the situation that they're in a way. But
absolutely,
get Crystal Dynamics, get Eidos Montreal.
Yep.
Get the IPs of Tomb Raider and
Deus
Ex, and then also try and squeeze them for Lord of the Rings. I'm saying,
well, they already signed that deal with Amazon, though, didn't they, for Lord of the Rings?
But for publishing and stuff, like but like they own the rights to the brand, so like
yeah, they do.
They own that company, so like they could literally, like, Xbox could literally buy Lord of the Rings from Embracer Group. And I don't think they would. I'm just joking with that, but like, it would be interesting situation to like, okay, we're going to offer you this, right? But we want something else, in return. Like, go ahead and throw it in there. Personally, I'm looking at it like selfishly about what they could do with it, right? It would be amazing.
Well, yeah, Lord of the Rings Middle Earth, obviously bringing it back.
Oh yeah. A World's Edge, getting on that. And
okay, let's bring this up right now while we're here, Mav, because this was news today as well. Sega announced the cancellation of Hyenas, their new free-to-play shooter that was very close to release. Yeah, very close to release. Like, I'm shocked right now. This is where the industry is going through right now. This is upheaval right now. This is bad. This is the aftershocks of a hiring frenzy and a game production frenzy when the pandemic was going on and everything was shooting through the roof. And this is what happens when things start falling back closer to reality and companies have to make hard decisions because of their overhiring originally and their overproduction during those times. Sega announced the cancellation of Hyenas. Who was working on Hyenas, Mav? Creative Assembly.
Yeah.
Creative Assembly hired a bunch of people to work on Hyenas. Creative Assembly, of course, one of Mav and I's favorite development houses. Previously worked on Halo Wars. Did some fine work with some massive RTSs out there. Maybe you've heard of You maybe heard of Total War at some
Yeah.
point. You know, I don't know.
They
Maybe
also
you've heard of
like
that.
they made Alien
Yes.
Isolation. Like
They made Alien Isolation.
Very,
Yes.
very versatile, talented studio.
So Mav, to your point, right? We know Xbox is still hiring. We know Activision Blizzard is still hiring because they put out notice today to everybody that's being affected over at Epic, which we'll get to here in a second because we're in the bad news segment here. But Creative Assembly, hey, Phil, you could build another team right now. Halo Wars 3, or as Mav said, go get that Lord of the Rings IP. Lord of the Rings Middle Earth. Battle for Middle Earth.
You could get them. You could get KOTOR. You could get Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
You could get Tomb
Yes.
Raider, Deus Ex, something like Legacy of Kain. You get all these
Legacy
things.
of Kain. Absolutely,
you
needs
get
to
all
come
these
back.
IPs and get a few development houses from them.
But go
then,
hire these people,
and then go get Creative Assembly from Sega because they
or not. You don't even need to. Just go gobble up all the people that are leaving and create a new team. Form a new team. Form a new team. You have with as many people that are being laid off. And I know guys. Xbox has so many freaking teams when you throw in ABK, but for their ambitions, they're not done. Start building out another studio. I know there was problems with how the initiative eventually worked out, right? It wasn't the quadruple A studio or all the big people that they hired. I'm not talking about going to hiring all the superstars. I'm going just saying you've got a ton of talented people that are being released from different places right now. Start up another studio because you got more than enough.
Did Firaxis have layoffs too?
No, did they?
I know that the guy left, but I don't know.
The guy, what's his face left. I don't know if Firaxis actually, they did have some layoffs, man. I'm pretty sure I remember Firaxis having some layoffs. The fact is the industry right now is going through a massive upheaval, and it's not good for the human side of this, for the developers, for the smaller people. When Epic, let's talk about this, Mav, and it's being confirmed by Epic, over 830 people now. Epic is laying off people because Fortnite isn't doing good enough, is one of the major reasons. Mav, Fortnite is it's printing money, right? It's literally printing money for Epic. Unreal Engine is being used everywhere. Epic is making a ton of money, but it's not good enough for the shareholders. And we've talked about this numerous times, Mav. This is the problem that you wind up with. This is the problem that Activision found themselves in, on top of all the HR stuff that they had going on. Bobby Kotick has freely admitted that Call of Duty was unsustainable in its current state because the shareholders, they don't care if your profits are up. It's got to be up by a certain margin every single year, or they start making phone calls. And that's what's happening at Epic right now. So Epic is laying off 830 people from across their company, Mav. That is 16% of their total company. That it's not the higher ups. It's not Tim Sweeney. It's not anybody up that level. These are the devs. Matt, what are your thoughts on all of this news today? Obviously, the upheaval. Obviously, specifically Epic saying that Fortnite just isn't making enough and that it's not a good year. What do you think?
Somebody said in the chat, and I was thinking the exact same thing. And that was the Beer Baron said, "Damn, that's the problem with relying on just one game for everything." And that's 100% like with the, the same thing with like Activision that happened, like you mentioned, like Call of Duty, all these things. When your company is so dependent on whatever the current trend is about excitement in the market for your product, one product, you are always going to be risking these highs and lows, or sometimes you're riding a wave with the game, right? Like any game, you ride a wave. Sometimes games have really long tails, right? And some of these live service games that have been around now for like a decade or a better part of a decade have had immense success, have gotten astronomically huge. But guess what? There's so much other stuff out there now. There's so much stuff competing for time. And guess what? Things over time sometimes just become less exciting to people. and sometimes they die down. So then when that wave starts to finally dip, what are you going to do when your company, because it's been so damn long, has become a one game company, has become so invested into just what you're doing with the one franchise, with the one product, and all of that to milk the consumers within that ecosystem so much that you forgot how to make fucking games, that you forgot how to kickstart all these other projects to get exciting stuff out that is going to reignite the excitement and also create other games, other brands, other things that are exciting. I think too many people and too many developers and publishers have found success with something, and we're just going to ride this wave. We're just going to ride it. We're going to invest in it. We're going to grow it. And that's going to be what we turn our company into, losing all of the things that made them who they were in the first place. Instead, they become a one-tone development studio, one-tone publisher. And I think you're always at risk, because if something happens and all of a sudden that game ain't cool no more, all of a sudden it gets around, the trends start to change, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that game's lame, you know, oh, I'm sick of playing that game, oh, like I'm, you know, this stuff happens all the time. When you're so invested in this is what you've become, all of a sudden you start seeing those trends dip down and you're like, oh shit, oh, I guess we gotta lay off all the people. How about you make those people make a different fucking game instead? How about you take those people and you actually say, hey, you guys got any ideas of games you want to make? How about you do that instead of just saying, bye, we don't fit within our financial model anymore? How about you take those and say, hey, let's start some projects, let's get some investment going on, let's get some partners going on with some other companies, and let's make some damn deals instead of laying these fucking people off. Let's make something happen and create more fucking huge franchises that people love, that gamers love, that people want to play, and you can ride that fucking wave, but you can have more than one wave. Companies, you can have more than one successful game. You can have more than one successful brand. Xbox doesn't stop making other fucking games just because they have Minecraft. No, they brought in Minecraft, and that studio makes Minecraft, but they have all this other shit. Get your shit together. Don't lay off people because you're all of a sudden start on the downtrend. Put those people on new fucking projects, make shit happen, and make some games that is going to get people excited. And guess what? Your board, your shareholders are going to love that shit because they get to see new future projections of other things that get them excited. Stop resting on the coattails of one successful franchise. This is a note to all publishers. Please, it doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. Eventually, you will die. Epic, as well, as much as the stuff going on with Fortnite, part of their problems also are because you're overselling Unreal Engine 5, and that shit sucks to a lot of developers right now, and they aren't being able to get their games out.
Bro, I'm sorry.
Just saying.
No. Overall, again, the human part of this sucks. It absolutely sucks. This is a high risk industry. To your point, Mav, this is part of the problem that Phil talked about in that email with AAA development, with it becoming so expensive, such a high risk proposition that a lot of these companies are falling into the trap. And the trap that you were just talking about, being reliant on one game.
They're fucking weak, man. They're weak.
It's
like, they have some ideas.
Well, that's the problem, because the main idea behind it is just to make money, and that's all they do. And again, when the investors get involved, the part of big business, this is why creatives and big business don't always mesh well, because no matter what, at the end of the day, the money will overpower the creative decisions. For sure. And that's what always happens.
The best people are the people that got the money, that have the influence.
Correct.
Understand that you can't just sit aside and expect that the thing you're doing now to always be successful, right?
Yep.
They're always looking for the ideas of the next thing that's going to push things forward. I
Yep.
saw a somebody had posted a quote. I can't remember fucking who it was right now, but it was on Twitter, and it's 100% right. And God, maybe I don't remember what it was. I think it was a game developer. Oh, it was a kid. It was Kojima. It was Kojima
Yeah.
that actually made this post, and it's about moving forward and with technology, with ideas, and all these kind of things. If you there's no standing still, right? And this is something I learned a long time ago. I can't believe I'm quoting my dad right now, but I am.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
But you're either moving forward or you're going backwards.
Correct.
There is no standing still, because if you were standing still, the world is still happening around you and things are passing you by.
Correct.
You have to look at the world for it's always evolving and always changing. And unless you're moving forward, trying to push to the next idea, to the next thing, you're always going to get at some point left behind, because everything else is going to move past you. And when these companies do that, the best CEOs, the best executives understand that. They understand that we have to innovate. We have to change things. We don't need to chase trends. We
need to create trends.
Need to be the trend, right?
Correct. Which
they
Fortnite was. Yes.
With Fortnite.
Yes.
But once they had the success, but it's like, okay, well, we're just, hey, we did it. You know, we did it. Kick our feet up. Let's just milk this and ride this fucking train for the next decade and grow it to a massive success and all this stuff. And then, you know what? Oh, when it starts to go down, oh, we forgot how to do anything else. Oh, oops. Right?
Yep.
Let's not come up with any other ideas. Let's not have other games in the works. Let's not do any of that stuff.
You become extremely short-sighted with success. That's one of the downfalls of success. You can become extremely short-sighted, and you can turtle in. This happens in sport. We always bring up sports analogies, but Mav, it's the old prevent defense, right? Remember when prevent defense became the big rage in the NFL, and it was like, oh, we've got a 2-touchdown lead, and there's 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and we're going to go into the turtle mode. Right? We're just going to run the ball 3 times straight up the middle, punt the ball, give it to the other side, let our defense prevent, not give up the big play. What wound up happening? Well, eventually people figured it out and people started losing games, even with 2 touchdown leads. Prevent defense sucks. Okay. But that's what happens with success for a lot of these companies, not all companies. We see a lot of companies go against the grain and not do that stuff. But for a lot of these companies, like your Call of Duties, like your Fortnites, you become so big, you believe you're too big to fail. And you lose sight of what got you there. What got you there was a decision to take what was Fortnite, which was a completely different game, look over at PUBG, help PUBG out and go, you know what? We could make Fortnite a battle royale. We could do what PUBG's doing right now. We see the success they're having, and you turned a game that originally wasn't that into one of the biggest games of all time in history. But you lose sight of that, and you forget that's what got you there, and you think it's going to last forever because you look at your investors, you look at your stock prices, you look at everything going on around you, and go, nah, we're good. In a lot of ways, it's like Sony. What we were just talking about with PlayStation. Same thing happened to them. Nah, we got it all figured out. We got the winning formula. We'll just have third parties supply all of our games while we just make the games that we're masters at. Third party or third person narrative driven games, movie-like experiences. That's what our fans want. You lose sight of what got you there. And that's what's happening right now with a lot of this stuff. We've seen games that have been highly successful for a very long time, considering gaming and what it is, and it changes all the time, become unsustainable. And we've seen, again, this whole thing with this industry is that there's so much to play. And yet as gamers, we're all limited by our time and we have to make decisions. We can't play everything, and people drop off. And people fall away, and people start dipping out, and people start trying other things, and they move on. And for investors, even if that, like I said in the beginning, even if it's still, you go, nah, but we're still making, $100 million more this quarter than we did last quarter. I'm just throwing out numbers randomly. it's not good enough because they wanted to see 175 million. They want to see 200 million. And you only gave them 100 million. That's when the phone calls start happening. What's going on? We got to fix this. Where's our profits? We need our stock prices to continue to go up. What's going on? These are the problems that, like Mav just said, you put all your eggs in one basket. Eventually, all those eggs hatch and you don't have any more eggs. That's a problem. And if you're not already prepping, if you don't already have some eggs cooking, chicken's making some more eggs for you, that empty basket's that's what you're going to have at the end of the day. So again, the problem being is it's very rarely the big shots who face the consequences of their own decisions. It is the devs, it is the people who created that magic in the first place that are the ones that are let go, the ones that see the failure first. And that's the shitty part. Like I said before, though, the good news is for a bunch of these devs is there is companies out there like Microsoft and Xbox who are looking to hire right now. They need more talent for all their studios. Activision, Blizzard lost a ton of talent during their HR problems and all that Bobby Kotick nonsense. They lost a ton of talent. They were out there publicly saying, hey, been affected by layoffs today. Please contact us. We've got positions.
Yeah.
There is a lot of growth still happening in this industry, but you're going to see a lot of bad business decisions that happened during COVID and the pandemic, especially, come back around to bite people in the butt. And that's what we're seeing right now. Also, to Mav's point, again, places like Epic that do only have one game and never try to break out of it, you're going to see this happen too, because eventually that popularity goes away. Eventually, it's not sustainable. So sad day for over 830 people, almost 900 people at Epic. Again, feel for all of you. Hope you all find new jobs, land on your feet as fast as possible. And I hope that you get back to doing what you love, which is making great games. Because at the end of the day, that's why they got in the industry in the first place.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I got a question for you. Somebody had made a post about this too that I saw.
Yeah.
I think it was Jez. Said like he feels like service games kind of hit a saturation point.
Yep.
And then somebody made a comment on it also about like they feel like great other games have actually been killing live service games right now. So like the amount of quantity and quality of games that we've been getting like has been supplanting those games, like the live service continuing games that people have been playing for years now, because there's more exciting things happening and coming out all the time, right? Where it's actually starting to diminish those numbers. And there's really, honestly, there's no end in sight with that, right? Like, and you got to look at Microsoft one is doing a lot of different things, but like also like Bandai Namco, Capcom, like
constantly expanding,
constantly coming out with new games all the time, right? There was an interview with the president of Capcom at Tokyo Game Show, and he was talking about like the need to have lots of different games coming out all the time with big brands, great franchises, and continuing to make these things. And that's what's going to keep the growth and keep things afloat. And you've seen that same model from Capcom and Bandai Namco. And guess what? Guess who's share prices and stocks have been going up like crazy because they keep hitting home runs, right? It's because they deliver on quantity but also quality, right? It's also variety. So there is the people say the old model is dead, AAA gaming. Those, if I was to look at Bandai Namco and Capcom, those are the most like old school feeling release type companies that we have right now, as far as releasing multiple kinds of games frequently, right? Like they're doing that, and guess what? It's really working. Meanwhile, you have other companies that where we need to really experiment, like Ubisoft has done a lot of this, like experiment with all these things because we need to chase things. We need to chase this, chase that, chase that.
I was just going to bring Ubisoft up, by the way, because the one thing they have done, as much as they've put their eggs into Assassin's Creed, they've also are trying other things,
Right.
and they are again, we don't always agree with how they do it, but the fact is that they are trying multiple different projects in all different players. We just got word today, and we could talk about it here shortly too, about they're changing the Far Cry formula, man, for good or for bad.
Yeah.
They're trying something new, supposedly, right? They continuously try. So I was just going to bring up, it's great.
Interesting feelings about that.
Yeah,
I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk about that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just it's interesting how like the models that people have been saying is going to die and can't be done is the thing that is driving the most successful companies right now as far as growth. Right? And it's like, well, if it was so dead and so bad and can't be done, how are they doing it? Obviously, there's a model out there that works, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not every game that's going to do that. Maybe you're going to have your failures, and I think sometimes these companies are too afraid to have one failure, right?
Risk averse. They're very risk averse when they become big and successful. We've seen it with Rockstar too.
But that's the same thing with any kind of entertainment medium or creation. Like you always are going to have your misses, but in order to have your massive hits, you got to keep swinging the bat, man. You got to keep out there.
And to have your new hits, right? To have your new hits, you have to continue to try. Again, EA, to their credit, has done that as well, right? Apex Legends, but they've branched out, tried other things as well. On top of their Maddens, on top of their sports franchises, they continue to try new things. Now, again, we don't always agree with how they do it. Again, we think they had something in Anthem, but they forced it out the door undercooked. But again, they continuously do try new things as well as keeping their established franchises around. There's just certain companies that have gotten wrapped up into relying on one or two franchises for their entire business model. And that is a recipe for disaster when things don't go right. Right. And I think that's the major problem that we are seeing here right now. On top of, again, the over hiring, the overproduction during the pandemic because numbers were through the roof, right? And they all overreacted to that because they're big companies, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Anyway, get Creative Assembly Xbox or get the developers.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
We want more Halo Wars.
We do.
Yeah.
We want more, and you can find other games. You guys have lots of IP. Phil just brought up this week Mech Assault, Mav, and he wants to bring it back.
Well, he said that 10 different times.
Yes, but he made it more emphatic this time.
Yeah.
I wonder. I wonder if what I said is kind of coming to pass, that From Software releasing Armored Core in 2023, when a lot of people would say that From Software was crazy for doing so.
Right.
I wonder if I said, and I wasn't specifically about Xbox or Phil, but I said that Armored Core could have that ripple effect, that maybe people do look at Armored Core going, why the hell did they do that? But look at, people are loving it. Maybe we can bring back our mech franchise again.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
I know that there's been issues with the licensing and all that kind of stuff. Like he's talked about that.
He's got the money, he's got the power.
IPL, yeah, he has. But it was just brilliant idea. I don't know where this came up with, where I came up with this idea, Pong. How about you just call it something else? Nobody cares if it's called Mech Assault at this point. It's going to be a brand new game anyway. You're going to have to reboot it. So it's not.
Yep.
Now, I understand you want to keep the same flavor and stuff, but like, I think people would be okay with a spiritual successor at this
Call
point.
it MA Metal.
Yeah, let's call it whatever the fuck you want. I don't care.
I agree. I don't know how all that works, Mav, and I don't know why that isn't a thing more often. Like, just call it a spiritual successor and rename it.
Yeah.
People know what it is.
Right.
Again, I don't know why people don't do this with other franchises. Like, honestly.
And honestly, maybe frees you up to be a little bit more creative with a lot of decisions you make too, with the creation of it, because you're less beholden to have to try and make nostalgia fans happy. Like, you can kind of go all in with just the idea of making, okay, we're gonna take the core essence of what this was and make a badass new mech franchise. Like,
right.
I don't know, like, why not do that? Anyway.
Even better, Respawn is hinting at Titanfall 3, maybe.
Yeah.
And if that happens, bro, oh God,
yeah.
I don't care.
You think
I don't care how long it takes.
It's going to be the one that sells,
bro. This would be the one that sells.
Yeah.
And like I said, depending on how long it takes, I mean, we could see it as a launch title for next generation. Like, there's so many different ways they could go with this. I don't care what it takes. Titanfall 3, I always have a little bias towards multiplayer games that I'm good at. And Titanfall 3 is one of the rare ones that I am actually really good at. But I loved Titanfall 3 or Titanfall 2 and Titanfall 1. And that franchise needs to exist. It really does. It's a unique take on multiplayer with the mechs, and there's nothing like dropping a mech into this day. There's not like that's an incredible feeling when that mech drops in and you hop in. And that, man, with the way Respawn is right now, with how much power they wield over at EA, I don't doubt that Zempel is going to get his wish and make a Titanfall 3. I think that they are hinting at it. I think it sells big time this time around.
Oh, what happened?
All those servers, and you saw how many people jumped in there.
Wow, we lost.
Yeah, we lost everything. I just saw that.
Yeah.
Is it restarting? Weird.
Yeah, it was Zoom. I don't know.
Huh.
It's back.
Jim is hacking us yet again.
Yeah. That was weird. It just like shut down and opened up.
I saw that. I saw Mav is the host. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But we're still live. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, again, all I was saying is Titanfall 3 needs to happen.
Show cut off.
Yeah, no, it just probably went to a blank screen and our Zoom just went out. So everybody just saw a blank screen. I wonder if anybody could hear us still.
I don't know.
That was weird. Yeah, I know, Eastside Vandal, how many people haven't played Titanfall up to this point? I know. But again, now that they're fixing the servers, a lot of people jump back in too.
Yeah.
All right, man. We are 3 hours. I know you want to talk about Far Cry. So you want to hop to Far Cry 7, the rumors around Far Cry?
Are we missing anything else substantial if we talk about Far Cry?
No, we're missing the FTC is going to waste more taxpayer dollars, right? Banisher, yeah, it's just stupid. It's not going to go anywhere. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Now they're going after Amazon 15 years too late. Congratulations, Lena. It's unbelievable. Don't Nod came out and delayed Banishers due to the heavy lineup for the end of 2023. Banishers Ghost of New Eden. Yeah. If you guys don't remember that game, keep that on your radar for next year. Please go check that. Don't Nod games don't always hit for me, but the one thing they do extremely well, whether I like the game or not, is build stories and build characters. And now they're bringing combat into it. In this Banishers of New Eden, this game, or Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, this game is on my radar. I'm happy they moved it to 2024 to get out of the way. It needs space, Mav, to have success. And I want this game to have success because it looks damn cool. I don't know where you're at with it, but it definitely looks cool.
Yeah. I don't know how familiar I am with it. I need to check it out.
I know you've seen it multiple times because it was at the Xbox show. I'm pretty sure it was at the Xbox show. Anyways, it looks fantastic. It looks so damn cool. Phil confirmed through an interview as well that they have Japanese games in development, Mav, that they are working with third-party developers in Japan for Xbox Eastern flavored games. Unannounced games. He said that they are still unannounced, so there's stuff we don't know about. So just add more to the roadmap for Xbox, right, Mav?
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
And I think there's probably some big stuff in there.
Yes.
Right? Because in his response of it too was about those kind of games, right? So I think we're gonna get some like maybe big exclusive JRPG like thing or something made by a creator or something like that. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to some exciting announcements with those partners. Maybe the Hideki Kamiya Platinum potentially.
I forgot my boy Kamiya, man. Yeah, he's. What do you think he got forced out by the new boss? Because they brought that guy in from Nintendo to kind of repair their image.
Yeah,
I wonder if
I think there's a little bit of that. You know, I also like they've been really wanting to work with certain partners and stuff like that, and maybe it doesn't do any favors. Maybe it has to do with some of that, and then also if they did want to be acquired as well, maybe he's a bit of a loose cannon that makes it hard for that as well. Even if it was like Microsoft or something, or maybe like like, oh yeah, we'll be willing to do this project with you, but like like who's in charge because this guy fucked us over last time,
Reclamation project, Phil. Reclamation. Yeah. Kamiya's got another Bayonetta in him, Phil. He does. I'm sorry, guys. I know a lot of people hate Kamiya, and I understand why.
Yeah.
He is. He's an a-hole. Okay, he's one of those developers that thinks that he's bigger than everybody
imagine
else.
if Microsoft was interested in buying Platinum, you couldn't.
Yes.
They like Kamiya wouldn't fit with the MO for Microsoft's image. Right?
No, no, but he is the brains behind a Bayonetta, so he's always got a special place in my heart
for
because.
Sure.
Let's be real.
Respect,
yes,
legend. I mean, it goes back even further than that. Like,
yes, it does.
With creation,
but Bayonetta is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Legendary developer. Right. Much respect.
Much respect.
But he's an asshole, and I don't like it.
And I think that he probably clashed with that Nintendo guy that they brought in because obviously it probably just was like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work out. So again, best of luck to Kamiya. I'm sure he's got plenty of clout and plenty of people that would love to work with him, that he can open his own studio or whatever the case may be. I hope he does. Again, I think the dude's got one more Bayonetta in him at least. And what I'm saying is that type of game where it reaches that level. And again, for me, I love Bayonetta. So
could you, could you imagine if Tomonobu Itagaki and brought in Hideki Kamiya as a partner?
Oh my God, bro.
And they teamed up.
Oh, the Motley Crew and the Axl Rose of games, video games.
They're like the two biggest legends with like action game development.
Think of what they could pull off if they could set their egos aside. And Tonobu, I think, has gotten taken down enough, like where I think he's in that spot. He's old enough too. He's like 57, I think, or 58, something like that. But if they could set their egos aside, that action game, bro, could be unbelievable what they could come up with.
It would be
my God,
insanity. It'd be an acid
I'd love to see
as well, probably.
Yes.
Like I would love to see it too, man. Like
I would love to see it, man.
Just a random thought anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Agree 100%. Yeah, Astral Chain is another one of his babies too. Absolutely. Near.
I don't know if he worked on Nier.
No,
it's a huge Platinum game.
He did. He worked on Nier because it was, I believe, their A team and Kamiya was their A team. So I'm pretty sure that team, it would have been let. I'd have to go back and look if he led it though. But yeah, again, just action combat type games. He's up there, man. He's up there. But yeah, that's a great call up, by the way, bringing Tonobu and him together.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like, I mean, because Itagaki was Team Ninja, right?
Oh yeah,
and then like the face of it, the identity of Team Ninja, right? And like, Kamiya was the identity and the face of Platinum, and for a while, both kind of reigned supreme as like action game developers. And to think about both of them kind of doing their own thing now, like come to join forces together, the hype around that project would be immense, dude. Imagine like at a game show or whatever, and then like whatever the publisher is at Innocent Publishing, we have a new exciting project to announce where these two legendary developers are going to be working on this brand new exclusive action game to our to blah 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 platform, and then they show up and they cut to Tomonobu Itagaki first, right? Because he has that leather jacket. He's probably smoking a cigarette right there. He's got the
Motley Crew, baby.
He's got the sunglasses on, right?
Bro, he's so freaking cool.
And they're like, he's like, thank you all. I am super excited to announce this new project with you guys. But first, I have to announce who my partner is. And he's none other than the other motherfucking legend in action game genre, Hideki Kamiya. And then Hideki Kamiya's like, what's up, motherfuckers? Make sure that the rest of this presentation is presented in Japanese. Otherwise, I'm not.
I don't want to hear no English.
Yeah. What's up, cockroaches? And he's like, let's go. Let's make the best fucking action game ever. It's called Scalebound.
Oh my God. Oh, I just would love to see a splash screen with just blades flashing and limbs flying, and it would just be and a sexy protagonist.
Yeah.
And that would be just it, man. That would be all of it, right? Yeah. That would be so dope.
Just to throw in another wrinkle, you go and get a Western developer in there. You go get David Jaffe and put him in there.
Can you imagine Jaffe working with those two? Oh my God. The meetings, bro. Funny, the meetings. Oh my God. I think Jaffe might delete himself. I can't imagine like Jaffe and them trying to, Jaffe and Kamiya trying to have a conversation. Yo. Oh my God.
That'd be so fucking great.
I'd love to play fantasy GM and put together a team of creators at some
God.
point. My God, it would be so much fun,
Just like to see what kind of random crazy shit they could come up
they
with,
could come up
bro.
with. Yeah,
Like,
yes, absolutely.
they would kill each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like again, like I said, Tanobu's in a different place though. He's old. He's older now. Like he's approaching 60. He knows his time's limited. I think he's in a different place, so he might be able to set it aside. It's just whether or not they could get their brains together to agree on ideas. Right? That would be a whole thing. Remedy creator director Sam Lake has shed more light on the upcoming remakes of Max Payne and Max Payne 2, and the undertaking involved bringing them up to modern standards and combining them into one. Mav, this is dope. I didn't know that they were going to try to combine them into one.
Right. Which game?
Max Payne 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Remedy, the remakes.
I missed the first part. So
yeah, he said it's a large one. Yeah, they're going to take both of them and put them together into one package.
Like one game?
Yeah. So here in an interview with VGC, we asked Sam Lake about the remakes and how Remedy's initial announcement suggested it was going to be a significant undertaking. Lake replied that the project is indeed a large one with a lot of work involved. Quote, it is a significant undertaking in the sense that even if they are old games, just thinking about bringing them up to modern standards and combining them into one, you can see that it's a big project, he explained.
So does he mean as like a collection, or does he mean as morphing two games into one game?
2 games into one game, bro. That's what I think he's absolutely implying. Upon being asked if he would be reprising his role as Max from the first game, Lake laughed and said, no comment. That's going too far. Of course he is. Remedy announced back in April 2022 that it was starting work on remakes of the first 2 Max Payne games. The games will be sold. They go on to say the games will be sold together as a single package and will be released on Xbox, Xbox Series consoles, PlayStation 5, and PC. Yeah, they're saying they're still going to be separate. They're going to be using Remedy's Northlight engine, which was used for Quantum Break and Control, obviously. I wonder, bro, because Sam said putting them into one. Like, that sounds more like me. Yeah, it sounds like, because how long were the original Max Paynes? Like 10 hours, 15 hours?
Probably something like that. It's been so long.
So technically nowadays for the average game, you could combine them both, and if you could get a 25 to 30 hour game out of it, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But it sounds cool as hell. I can't wait. Max Paynes are great. I rebought them when they went backwards compatible, so I've got them on physical, and they still hold up to this day. I mean, the controls are obviously clunkier than you want them to be in that type of game, but the story, and again, Max himself as a character, as a troubled, almost anti-hero character, with his drinking and everything else, that still resonates to me more so than a lot of characters nowadays who are very bland to me, or goody two shoes, or don't play on those lines. Like watching Payne as an alcoholic and then go out and do all this crazy stuff and act like one is still cool to me. And it's stuff that we don't see. It's all watered down. A lot of it's all watered down nowadays. People don't take chances like that anymore. That's Rockstar back in the day, and that's Remedy back in the day. That's what they did. They took those chances like we were talking about. They did things, again, Rockstar, especially as a publisher, was publishing games and trying new things that nobody else would do. Who would ever do a bully game today? Nobody.
Yeah.
Rockstar did back in the day. Yeah. So, all right, Mav. I think we've gotten most of it, unless you could think of anything. Sony got hacked. We still don't have official word. They're investigating. Sony supposedly got hacked. Supposedly the entire company got hacked. The hackers supposedly got a hold of 6,000 files. Supposedly they're selling them on the black web. Sony is internally investigating. We don't have official confirmation of what departments or all departments that were affected by this. So I'm holding judgment until we get official word. Obviously, as a publicly traded company, Sony cannot hide the hack. Okay. They cannot come out and say it wasn't as bad. We've seen this with credit card companies. We've seen this with big companies. If you get hacked nowadays as a publicly traded company, you have to come out and fully disclose what information was got. So I'm going to wait for the official word from Sony and their investigators, and I will hold judgment Is it a good look no matter what at the end of the day? Absolutely not, especially coming off that big giant hack that PlayStation had back in the day, in which people's credit cards were stolen, and it was bad news. And basically, they implemented the new policy where if you dispute a charge, they lock you out of your PlayStation account now. Dumbest policy ever. But anyways, yeah. Any thoughts on the hack, Mav? Are you holding judgment too?
Yeah, I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what comes from it. I hope it's not user information and stuff like that. I hope if there's anything comes from it, my hope would be that it's like industry leak stuff about like future plans and things like that. That shit's interesting, right?
You know, that thought crossed my mind. I was like, God damn, I hope they got a hold of the roadmap.
I know, like, it would be crazy if we just saw
we're
the
horrible.
Xbox
we're
roadmap
horrible.
and then saw the PlayStation roadmap.
Yeah.
Also, the other thought is that I hate these hack groups and stuff like that. It depends on what they do with it, or what they do with user information, all that kind of stuff. If they have it, I just don't like it. I think it is. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's a real thing that's out there. Companies and people do this stuff for a living and stuff like that. It's insane to me, but it's the world we live in. So
it's a new hacker group too that's only been around for a little bit, but they've already done some big hacks. That's why a lot of people are saying that they think it's legit. So we'll see. We'll see.
So also the other thing was the NVIDIA raids.
Yeah, NVIDIA raids. Yes. So yeah, this just broke late today too, this afternoon. In fact, there's reports coming out that NVIDIA in France, now again, it came out as plural that their offices got raided, but it has been confirmed that it was the French offices that got raided by the French authorities. They have not released any details outside of the fact that this was for anti-competitive behavior in the graphics card sector. So yeah, so somebody snitched or somebody got a hold of some information about some questionable things that NVIDIA was doing, and the French authorities raided their France office. So we are going to have to wait and see what comes of this. But if things couldn't get any more wild, NVIDIA getting raided by French authorities was not on my bingo card, Mav, this week at all.
Yep. Absolutely insane. It's what a crazy couple weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Mav, let's end the show on your topic. Let's end the show. I want to get your thoughts on this. So if you guys didn't see, there was a Far Cry 7 leak coming from, of course, Insider Gaming. Again, shout out to Tom Henderson, who is the head of Insider Gaming. He started that website that comes up with really good information. I'll give the breakdown. Shout out to Synth Potato, who is a new account who's been causing some waves. He's got some interesting thoughts on games, and he also covers news and does kind of synopsises like a lot of people do, breakdowns of different news. But he also has had some big thoughts on Cyberpunk. He's had some big thoughts on Starfield, and he also started a huge controversy this week. I think it was 2 days ago when he put out a hot take, and this went far and wide. Grubb jumped in on it a lot. Josh Sawyer from Obsidian jumped in on this and weighed in. He put out a hot take that he thought that the Baldur's Gate 3 devs, Larian, of course, you know how much me and Mav love Larian and love Baldur's Gate 3. He said that as a DLC update, that they should revamp or offer a revamped system where it's no longer turn-based and it goes to action. This was a big hot take. This is one of the biggest games of the year. A game people are definitely calling generational, game changer. Baldur's Gate 3 is a turn-based through and through that me and Mav love, but he put out the hot take that should be changed. Mav, any quick thoughts on that one? I don't know if you even saw that.
Yeah, I saw
it. But it went far wide. Yeah.
And no.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly, obviously, and people did bring up the fact, Mav, and it's a valid discussion that the older Baldur's Gate weren't necessarily strict turn-based either. They were a hybrid action-based system, right? But
that's not what they're really talking about and asking for is the old system either. Yes. I would be okay with that also, what they're asking for is a action game.
on the fly control your companions kind of, or no, he actually said, they actually said to make the AI for the companions to fight on their own, etc. That would defeat the whole, in my eyes, because it is based on hardcore D&D 5th edition rules, that defeats the whole purpose of the game. And my other point has always been, and this has come from somebody who loves or does not like Souls games, I have never asked From Software to change their style. I love their aesthetic. I love everything about them. I wish I could play Souls games. I wish I had the patience to play Souls games, but I would never ask From Software to do something different. I've never asked a company to put in an easy mode. I never would do that because that's not the ultimate creative vision. I want the developers to make the game that they want. And the fact that, again, Larian went against the grain and threw up the middle finger to the entire, or almost the entire industry, and said turn-based still has a place in this industry. We are going to show you. I love that fact. And no, I would never want them to do that.
Yeah. It just stay to who you are. And obviously it's working.
Yes. And obviously, as Josh Layer said, millions of people stood up and said, we like turn-based. so that whole narrative is dead, which I think is amazing because we might see more turn-based games down the roadmap.
I think people seeing the Baldur's Gate success opens up their minds, right?
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
This whole trends of like these games can't be successful because of that, because of that, because of that, because of that. It's like, how many times are these fucking people are going to get proven wrong, you know? Like,
correct. It sucks. Yeah. You got to put out the game you want to put out.
Yep.
Again, that's the end of the story. Make it great.
Good quality.
And people will show up.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So anyways, back to my original point, Sith Potato did a breakdown of kind of the leaks, and I thought it was a good overview of what these Far Cry 7 leaks were, coming from Insider Gaming. Again, shout out Tom Henderson, the crew over there. I love you guys. I love leaks. Far Cry 7 will be a new non-linear take on the series, centered around a conspiracy group called Sons of Truth. Sons of Truth kidnap the player's family, and you are tasked with rescuing all members of your family. The game has a 72-hour time limit, which translates into 24 hours of real game time, real life time. Game story ends when you rescue all of your family members. If you fail in rescuing all your family members, you must restart if you run out of time. Some family members can be killed or lost during a playthrough, with the story changing around depending on the player's actions. 100% is achieved after rescuing all family members and taking down the Sons of Truth. All right, man. Far Cry, one of your beloved franchises. You have been a Far Cry player for a very long time. I definitely enjoy Far Cry. Far Cry 3 was obviously my favorite. But I enjoy all Far Cries. Again, fast food, Ubisoft games, open world games for me. I know I'm going to go in and I know I'm going to find some fun. That period, point blank. I don't care. I enjoy them. Even if I don't finish them, even if I don't play them for the longest periods of time, I like Far Cry games. But for you, man, as a longtime Far Cry guy, how do you feel if this is true, that this is now going to become I don't want to say a roguelike, but this is going to become a timed experience legitimately, that you're not just going to roam everywhere for as long as you want to, but you're going to have to get down to business. What do you think here, Mav?
I'm in a way torn on this so much, because I've gotten to the point where I think Far Cry has become like too big. Like Far Cry 6 is like just insanely massive, like for no good reason. Like I really feel like it's a great game and I do love it, but it's so daunting to see everything and want to do everything. And even the way that the story is segmented out, it feels kind of like a different level of scale that's a little bit unnecessary, right? Even within the story. So I feel like there's a lot there that can be toned down and kind of like fine-tuned to focus more on the quality of what those things are that you're doing, right? So to that extent, I have there's some promise here. Like, not everything has to be the biggest thing ever, right? With the most things to do ever, right? Sometimes you could take a great idea and just fine tune it and have great quality behind every aspect of it, that's going to be a better solution. Now, I am a Far Cry lover. This is like the most interesting thing I've seen, but it's also partly the most concerning thing I've seen about it no longer being Far Cry.
Right.
So that's my concern. And I've seen people say for years now, like, oh, Far Cry needs to evolve. Far Cry needs to change. Far Cry needs to that. And I was like, I just want more Far Cry games. You know? Like, I want more Far Cry games. But I wanted them to get better and better and better, like quality-wise, and implement different things and different ideas and all that kind of stuff. But, like, and the reason I say it's the most concerning thing for me about it not being Far Cry anymore, because for me, the magic of Far Cry is about you approaching things how you want to and when you want to, right? Like, in this open environment, and you can decide you want to be super slow and stealthy about it, or you want to try and like kind of mess with people for a while and have fun, set up, like back in the day I used to set up tree traps, like, and just like lure people out so they get snapped in the face by a tree, right? Or you set a mine, you play with things and kind of have fun with stuff, like it's a sandbox game, right?
Yep.
And taking that sandbox element, like, if I feel like I'm in a race against time, you're adding another level of pressure that takes that level of freedom away from me. At that point, just knowing it's there inherently can change the whole perspective of your playthrough, of how you approach everything in the game. It adds a level of stress, adds a level of pressure that you may feel, right? That is not there in Far Cry, where Far Cry has been honestly about the opposite for me. It's been about a do whatever you want kind of game, right? So that's where I don't like it. It would be like saying, hey, we put a time limit on your Starfield playthrough, right? I'm like, no. Or like, imagine like imagine Elder Scrolls 6. They said, hey, yeah, Elder Scrolls 6, you have this like dragon chasing you, and if you don't get escape within like 24 hours, you know you have to start the game all over again, right? And it's like, I want to get lost in that world. You know what I mean? Like, Far Cry is not to that scale, right? Or scope with story and different things to do. It's more one tone about like, but the options are there about the gunplay and the gameplay loop that you decide and what you want to approach and when you want to approach it. And that's the best thing about Far Cry for me, and always has been. So adding that element to that changes the core aspect of what the game is, right? So we'll see. Maybe there's a way to turn it off, right? Or maybe if you succeed, you open up another level of things that like lets you to do like an end game type situation, right? I don't know how they're going to approach it, so I have to play a wait and see on this thing. But I'm not one that's been asking for Far Cry to massively transform. I just want them to kind of hone down and fine tune things a little bit and focus on like making it extreme quality, a little bit more immersive, right? And things like that. But like, as far as the mechanic of this, it's interesting to me, and I may love it.
Right. It might turn out to be cool.
It might turn out to be badass. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just also am worried, like, will it be Far Cry to me still, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, not in the traditional sense, it won't be Far Cry anymore because, again, like you just stated, with the time limit, it does change how you play a Far Cry game. Now, you know, of course, just like any other open world game, you can mainline games and you can finish them out if you want to. But with Far Cry, it was about what you were talking about, Mav. It was the sandbox. Again, Ubisoft does its own version of a sandbox game where you can kind of play around in it and have some fun and kind of go off on your own adventures and do what you want to do. Not to the degree of a Bethesda game, but they certainly have an open world kind of formula. I don't have a problem with them trying this. Like,
Yeah.
again, I will always say, and especially with Ubisoft, you again, I'd rather see Watch Dogs reinvented than to go away forever, right? I don't want franchises like that to go away forever. And if you're Ubisoft and you're looking at these franchises and you're like, God, they just don't sell like they used to. We've already got Assassin's Creed. We've already got our big open world. That's the billion-dollar franchise. These other franchises, we got to think of something else to do with them, because obviously Far Cry 6 did not live up to expectations for them from a business standpoint. I understand trying something new. So I don't have a problem with this. Like you, Mav, said, maybe I will think this is really, really freaking awesome. But will there be a part of me? Because again, Far Cry has its own type of setting. It's not like it's just Assassin's Creed with guns. It has its own type of setting. It has its own feel to it. So does Watch Dogs. So for me, will I be playing this game? And even if it is a cool concept and I'm enjoying it, will there be that thing in the back of my head going, yeah, but this isn't Far Cry. Like, I want Far Cry. Like, I know the name on the cover says Far Cry 7, but this doesn't really feel like Far Cry anymore. I think that's also a thing that could happen, and I could be longing for a new Far Cry by the end of it. But I will give them credit for thinking outside the box. If all of this is real, this is not the first time there's ever been a time limit on a game. Yeah. I understand. But with a Far Cry story, because again, Ubisoft still has a ton of talent and their writers are generally very good at their jobs. And I enjoy Far Cry characters a lot. I enjoy Assassin's Creed characters. I enjoy how they kind of develop the lore. Like Far Cry's enemies are some of the highlights in video game a lot of time. Like they've got some well-known antagonists, right? That are like, everybody knows them. Like Voss can't be forgotten, right? Even in Far Cry, which one was the cult? That was 5, right? 5. Far Cry 5, the cult. They all were memorable characters because the writers do a fantastic job. So I think they could create something really cool here with this concept with the Sons of Truth. But I got to see it in action, man. I got to see how it's going to work. And so, yeah, this is kind of a wait and see for me, but I don't blame Ubisoft for trying something new with this franchise. Yeah. I don't. Do I wish maybe they would just look at a franchise like Far Cry and say, okay, maybe it's gotten too big for people. Let's cut it down, not to Assassin's Creed Mirage levels, but let's cut it down to, let's bring it back to like Far Cry 3 level.
Yeah.
Right. Let's like bring it back size, to that. Yeah. It was a beautiful size.
And also with that, if you do that, you can focus more on like other aspects like detail and like visuals and story and all that kind of stuff.
Far Cry 6 was gorgeous, by the way, too.
No, it is. Yeah. For sure. But when you're
I know what you're saying.
The bigger a game gets, the less time they have to really work on
that stuff. Right. Yeah.
I would love I would tell you what I would love for a Far Cry game. Like, if Far Cry 8 or whatever they do, like you make like take everything you've done, because part of the thing with Far Cry, it's gotten a little bit overly wacky and a little bit over the top too much, of course, right? Yeah. It's that like thing
you keep trying to top.
Yeah, you always got to outdo yourself, yourself. Take it back to its roots more, right?
Right.
And then take it to like, we're going to have a more serious approach on this game and really go in with the graphics. And because back then they were pushing graphics like crazy, and they still are, but like not to the extent that they used to. Really push the graphics, the visuals, and the immersion of the environment that you're in. The gunplay, the detail on the guns, the story, the motivation behind what you're doing and why you're there. The thing about Far Cry also is you felt at first when you started like, oh shit, I'm a little bit like vulnerable all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, absolutely. You always felt vulnerable. You're in this forest or this tropical forest or whatever on this island, and there was people around and you didn't have shit, right? You didn't have like
even the animals were dangerous when you first started out. You didn't want to run into an animal.
You had like a pistol if you got one that had barely any ammo, or you had like rocks you could pick up on the ground, and like they took you there, and then you're going into camps that have lots of guys, and you felt vulnerable. And over time, you evolved and got more powerful towards the end, right?
So bring back a little bit of the survival aspect.
Yeah, bring some of that stuff back. And And right now, like you play Far Cry 6, you're just fucking like gung ho badass from the
Oh yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
like, and it's all that kind of stuff about, and that's about the progression of the feeling of becoming more powerful, really evolving into your self in that game.
I like that idea. Yeah,
So
I like
just
that
really
idea,
take it back down to the roots and make it more immersive graphics, like and all that kind of stuff. And you don't have to have as big as Far Cry 6 is in scope with the amount of missions to do, right? It's okay to be able to play a game in like 15, 20 hours and do everything, right? Like, I feel like,
or even if you want to say like a 40 hour
40
open
hours,
world or 50, like absolutely, of course.
Yeah, even if you fully complete every mission, it's okay. Like with games now, you can add, if it's a huge success, you can add to it or all that kind of stuff.
DLC,
but like, but really focus on the core aspects of what made the original game special is what I want. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. I feel like it could be cool and fun to play. But like what I worry about is if this is really successful, right? And this does really work and people are like freaking out about, oh, I love this and stuff. That'll be like always what
that'll be the new formula.
Because that's what Ubisoft does, right?
Yep. Which to their point, that's why I almost would like to think that I almost wish from, if they're going to do, I always say this, like they're separating, like their Assassin's Creed, they're going to have a small one and they're going to have a big one, right? They're separating them out.
Yeah.
I almost wish they would have not have called this Far Cry 7. I almost wish like they would say, hey, we're going to do a spin-off Far Cry series with a new formula. We're going to try it. And then just say the main line is on hold for the time being. Like that, I almost wish they would just take a break from the main line and rethink how they were going to do that mainline open world, but create this Far Cry spin-off. Like we're going to create this smaller experience for you guys. It's going to be different. We're going to, have this time limit on here. We're trying this new thing out, but call it Far Cry something, right? Whatever you want to come up with, what kind of naming convention you want to come up with. Just not the main line. Yeah.
Then they've done that before, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What they did with the Assassin's Creeds, right?
Yeah. Like
when they broke them off.
And they had Far Cry like Primal. They had like
Primal, exactly.
They had
resurrect that again. That's a perfect title for this type of game. Where you got like you got this shorter time frame. It's much more intense. It's like more, you got some tension there. Yeah, bring it back Far Cry Primal with a time limit.
And what was the robot dinosaur 80s one? Blood Dragon. Yeah.
Blood Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
great. That was freaking fantastic, bro. So much fun. Primal was the worst one, in my opinion. OCDgamer.
Yeah.
Mav?
I honestly lost interest in that game and didn't finish it or anything. So I wasn't really interested in playing as a caveman. I just gotta be honest.
I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be when I finally sat down to it. Cause I like the setting. And I thought that to your point, Mav, about the survival, Primal did a good job of making you fear getting into a bad situation.
Yeah.
Right?
But I didn't want to go around like collecting bamboo.
No, I know bamboo and making spears and I know. That part of it, but I did kind of like it at the end of the day because it was different, right? It was a different feeling, not having guns, right? that was different. So
I like the vulnerable aspect of it.
Yes,
I like that, right? Some reason also in Primal the environment like that where I was in like wasn't like as exciting for me. Like
no,
I like the concept of it, but the actual like setting, right?
Yes,
of the environment.
Neanderthal type setting. Yeah. Great conversations tonight, Matt. Great conversations. 3.5+ hours here. We knew this was going to be a big one. And again, didn't expect to start with an hour-long Starfield to start the show, but hey, that's what happens with me and Mav because we're fanatics when it comes to Starfield. So you're going to get that love.
Yeah.
There's no, and again, a lot of our chat is fanatics too. I love seeing this. I'm not going to go back to this, but again, just for the first time ever being around this big community of people now and finding out how many people love Bethesda games in a lot of the same ways I do is absolutely simply amazing. Getting to experience a single player game from Todd and the team for the first time with a group of people that I can talk to about it and get as excited and be like, my game of the generation, my favorite game all time. And I've got people going, yeah, it is mine too. Like, that's just a different feeling. So that was a great way to start off the conversation. And obviously we got into Jim Ryan and the future of PlayStation. That's going to be an ongoing situation. We're probably going to have a lot more conversations as we get more details, as they kind of figure out what they're going to do with that position. We'll have probably a lot more to say, even if it's not this year, but into next year as we learn more. It's going to get interesting. Like, this is big news. Like, some people don't understand. The head of one of the biggest gaming companies just walked away after 5 years on the job. Like, that's big news, and it is going to have a big effect depending on who they put in there, the philosophy going forward of PlayStation, and it could be a new era of PlayStation we're about to see. Depending on who they put in there, we could see a total shift in how PlayStation does things. Like, this is interesting, people. This is like ultra interesting. This news just never stops. Again, I can't wait to hear what Nvidia's been doing that got the raid. I mean, who knows what's going to come out of that? Once they've been doing some really illegal anti-competitive stuff, Mav, and all of a sudden the crackdown on Nvidia starts.
That could have major ramifications.
Yeah, major ramifications. Yes, right. Absolutely. But great conversations. Chat, you are absolutely freaking amazing. We got you guys a lot involved tonight, even though we had big topics, because you guys had a lot of good points in there, a lot of good conversations happening. I love you all. Thanks for coming out tonight and watching me and Mav. But Mav, we got Xbox Ultimate tomorrow. What else we got going on? What do you got going on this rest of this weekend?
Just gaming, playing games. I maybe I don't know what day it's going to be, but I will have a funeral I have to attend, so I don't know.
Are you serious, bro? I just had one on last Sunday
I know,
too.
Man.
Oh,
man. Crazy times, but
terrible.
I don't know what day that's going to be, so it might affect one of our shows, right? But I'll find out. Once I find out what show that is, I'll let y'all know. But if things are on schedule, then we have tomorrow night's Xbox Ultimate podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We're having C Money and Doodle on. It's going to be an absolute blast. What a week to have them on as well. So looking forward to that. And then Monday, we're back with Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, let's see, we got Tuesday's Fun Pop. I'm excited to talk about, I watched the Gran Turismo movie, and I also watched...
What?
Yeah, I did.
Whoa.
I know.
You're going to say that, and you didn't start the conversation tonight with that?
No, we're going to save it for Fun Pop. I watched that.
Okay. You got to tell me, though. Just okay, you don't have to give it a score, because I'm sure you guys are going to go through your scores. As corny as you think it would be, or better?
Better. Okay.
All right, cool. That's all I need.
Yeah.
You can save the rest for...
Worried at the start?
Yeah, but got better.
Better, right.
Okay. All right.
And then, I also watched Blue Beetle. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about those on Fun Pop on Tuesday night. And then also we got PM of the PM next Thursday, everybody as well. So thank you all for being here. You guys rock. This chat and community has been absolutely amazing. Congratulations again to Randall Thor for 100K. Congratulations again to Iron 100%. Lord's podcast and all the members there. Lord Cognito, Lord Sovereign, Lord Addict, King David. Amazing stuff going over there. Everybody that's involved with that channel. Also, Jess Gordon with Xbox 2 as well, because he's a big part of what Rand's been doing. So congrats to all of them on their success with their achievements this past week. But anyway, Pong Soul.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Where can everybody find you, sir?
It's gonna be a short week for me, folks. So you get me here tonight. So thank you all again for coming out. Again, just crazy energy this week. Wild stuff going on in the gaming industry. I hope it continues. And again, I love you all. Nothing but respect for coming out here. 200 of you showing up for me and Mav tonight was awesome. Great to see everyone jumping in here. And you get me tomorrow night on Xbox Ultimate. So I will be there tomorrow night. So join us there, the fam. We will have lots of different perspectives, I'm sure, on some of the topics. And even though it's Xbox Ultimate, I'm sure we'll be talking Jim Ryan because it does affect the competition. So I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But then that's it, because I have my cousin's wedding on Saturday. So we will not have Living Split Screen on Saturday morning. And Steele said he might be streaming or doing something, so I don't know for sure. And I will not be on the Shop Podcast Saturday night, but you got to check out the Shop Podcast anyway. So you got to go over there to PTK Blam's channel, Fuzzy Belvedere. I don't know who the guests are this week, but I'm sure PTK will have somebody in the house. I missed last week too. This is really weird for me, Mav. I got a migraine last week and had to miss the shop. I'm so consistent with almost all my shows, like all my shows. I am consistent. I don't like missing shows, and I have very few and infrequent times when I have to actually miss a show that I hate it. But 2 weeks in a row from the Shop Podcast never happened, bro.
Yeah.
That never happened. Like, this is going to be, I miss my brothers over there. So, but go check out PTK and Fuzzy and whoever they have on as guests, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, PTK Blam's channel. Be there for the Shop Podcast. And then next week should be back to normal, unless something else pops up that's been nuts. But it should go back to normal. So next week, Tuesdays, Xbox Factor, All Good Things Green, Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick is the man. He's been having huge shows this week around the breaking news, as always happens for Boom. He's always got a show, so he's always breaking news. It's freaking fantastic. He's 100%. But otherwise, that is every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, and then Thursday night back here for PM in the PM, God willing, with my brother from another Mav. Otherwise, folks, it is the golden age of gaming. Whether you are lost in the stars like me and Mav are with Starfield, or whether you're playing one of the freaking 1,000 games that came out this year that are just absolutely ridiculously cool, doesn't matter. It's the golden age. So please play what you love what you play. Have a fantastic Friday. Great start to your weekend. Love you all. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you all real soon. Mav, get us out of here, bro.
Peace out, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.